us here. We've got the good old traditional green flag that'll get us underway. Race is about to get underway. The revs rise. Up goes the flag. Down it goes. A bit of creeping from the front few rows. A good start by Richard Holmes-Williams, all alone on the front row. No Max Cook at the front, I believe. He started at the very back of the field. Brad Ray up into third place then, almost side by side, heading into the first corners for the first time. But as they make their way into the infield, it's a very tightly packed field, very congested immediately at the front. The number 6 rider is Martin Glossop, challenging in second place, defending from Bradley Ray, the number 28. Richard Holmes-Williams given a little bit of breathing space just for now through the third of the tight hairpins for the first time, Liam. Well, it could be a bit of a traffic jam, but everyone seems to be moving away so far so cleanly.
Yes, it's very clean at the moment, which is great. We've got a big grid this weekend, 16 riders full of great experience, and we've got lots of fast riders. Brad Ray in third spot at the moment. We've got a change for fourth position. That is going to be the number 10 of Taylor Lawrence moving up to fourth place. Can he bridge the gap to third place? That is Brad Ray. But at the front of the field, it's number 126. That man again is Richard Holmes-Williams, pulling away from the pack as they head in towards turn number 6. Further back, we had Max Cook and Charlie Nesbitt having a bit of a chat before they raced off into the distance and trying to make their way through the field.
Probably something along the lines of, do you want to follow me, Harvey? I'll show you the way. And both are extremely talented young riders. They just keeping an eye on the number 28 of Bradley Ray. We have mentioned him just a few times already, and we certainly will do for the rest of this race. But it was due to be a 14-lap race, this first encounter of the weekend. Richard Holmes-Williams confirmed the lead at 1.1 seconds already is the gap ahead of Martin Glossop. Brad Ray right up the back for second and third respectively. Taylor Lawrence in fourth ahead of Kier Armstrong. Will Howarth is up to sixth at the moment ahead of Josh Ingram. Brandon Perrell, the yellow Perrell, the 146 in 8th place ahead of Harvey Claridge and John Ansell. Max Cook in 11th, just so far. Cam Harris, Jamie King, Charlie Nesbitt and Tom Ward rounding out the 15 runners at the moment. No Roger Monks at the moment, we believe, but as they continue to circulate around, Richard Holmes-Williams shot off into the distance. It is not decided yet for second place. Brad Ray thinking of a move up the inside into turn number 1. Nearly got the front wheel tucked in inside Martin Glossop, but no problem there. Taylor Lawrence and Kier Armstrong, though, that's a great battle at the moment. The number 10 and the number 122 into turn 2 and 3. That's for 4th and 5th. They're getting very fighty already. They've had a few moments between them over the course of the season so far.
Yes, absolutely. They've had some great battles, and as you said there, into turn number 1, it was Kier Armstrong making the move up the inside of Taylor Lawrence. Now back to the battle for second. Brad Ray into turn number 9, still all over the back of Martin Glossop. Martin Glossop not doing too many rounds so far this year as they come across the start-finish line to tick off another lap. Brad Ray looking up the inside, not making a move so far into turn number 1. Yes, he does. In actual fact, he pushes Martin Glossop out of the way. Martin Glossop fighting back to turn number 2. Nearly up the inside of Brad Ray. Brad Ray says that not today, sunshine, holds the move around the outside, and that is him into second place as he sees Richard Holmes-Williams, who just set the fastest lap of the race the previous time round, a 45.087, pull away by 1.9 seconds ahead of Brad Ray. Martin Glossop in third spot, Kier Armstrong in fourth, Taylor Lawrence in fifth, Will Howarth in sixth, and then it's Max Cook into seventh, starting from last on the grid. He's now up to seventh, setting some blistering lap times. Josh Ingram in eighth, ahead of Brandon Perrell, and it's John Ansell rounding out the top 10.
Richard Holmes-Williams, your race leader, you just mentioned it was 1.9, it's now 2 seconds flat. Brad Ray not managing to claw back enough time so far, and in fact Martin Glossop starting to catch up to the number 28 rider into turns 3 and 4 once more. So the battle for second starting to re-emerge into the first hairpin. Left, then right, then left again. It's extremely tight through the hairpins. Richard Holmes-Williams is your race leader, heading up towards the final few corners onto the back straight.
Yes, looking back further down the grid, that is Harvey Claridge making a move on Jamie King as they head through turn number 4 and 5. Jamie King still ahead of Harvey Claridge. Claridge is muscling his way through as he head up towards turn number 9. Not quite. Jamie King still holding that position ahead of Harvey Claridge. That is Claridge and Jamie King in 12th and 30th position as they come across start-finish line now. But we've got Harvey Claridge under pressure from Charlie Nesbitt. Will Charlie Nesbitt make it up the inside into turn at number 1? Not quite. Nesbitt still sticking back in 14th place. So we have Harvey Claridge next up, and then it's Jamie King in 12th. But Claridge, through the twisty stuff, is very quick indeed. Now, will we see him make a move into turn at number 4 once again on the orange wheel bike?
Well, it's just behind the yellow-white bike of Jamie King, the famous black fluorescent yellow and white colours. The orange wheels as the rider goes down at turn number 7. That's the third hairpin. Shoves his hand up, is fed up on the floor. Getting up, the riders all seems to be okay. Just hands up in the air. He's gesticulating to the marshals. One might suggest not best pleased, really, as he looks towards the riders. That is not good at all. Oh dear, that's not the ideal situation for him. But once again, Jamie King under pressure from Harvey Claridge. He's no longer under pressure because he's just been passed. So, Harvey Claridge aboard the white machine with the orange wheels is ahead once more. That's into turn number 3. Good move up the inside of turn number 1. A very textbook style move, you could say, Liam. But with those extra cardboard fairings he's got on his front wings, no wonder he's got an advantage.
Yeah, very, very true indeed. He's keeping that front wheel down, lots of front downforce as they come through turn number 8. As you can see, Harvey Claridge is now pulling away from Jamie King. So he got a great run out of the final turn number 10, along the home straight, and into turn number 1. He moved into 12th spot ahead of Jamie King. Now back to the battle for first. It's not really a battle because we still have Richard Holmes Williams leading the way by 2.4 seconds ahead of Brad Ray. The lap times are very similar, both in the 45 zeros. Martin Glossop just dropping it back ever so slightly. He's in 3rd spot ahead of Keir Armstrong. Taylor Lords, Max Cook made a move on Will Howarth last lap. He's now onto 6th spot ahead of Will Howarth. Josh Ingram back down to 8th. John Ansell in 9th, and then Brandon Perrell has dropped back a couple of positions in the last couple of laps. He's now in 10th place.
Well, Brandon Perrell's been within the thick of it for the entirety of this race. With 5 laps to go, 7 laps completed, our race leaders making their way through the infield section. Once again, Richard Holmes Williams, 2.5 seconds now through the 2nd and 3rd hairpins into the final third of this lap. Richard Holmes Williams, the number 126, aboard the black and white machine onto the back straight now and up towards the final corner. 2.5 seconds over a PSP rider is not bad, but the number 126 rider, Richard Holmes Williams, is fairly known, I believe, by his friends as Tractor Boy. He is a relative local to the area, coming from Ipswich. A big fan of Ipswich Town, which is the Tractor Boy reference. You can think of your own we're not going to. And he is now 2.6 seconds ahead. So got this race, touch wood, one must emphasise touch wood, sewn up ahead of Brad Ray. Martin Glossop in 3rd, still can't quite get enough in order to challenge for the 2nd step aboard the podium. But Keir Armstrong coming under pressure from Max Cook. That's the battle for 4th and 5th into turn number 4, the infield section. Max Cook doesn't really sit behind riders for very long, and through the very twisty stuff, Max has an absolutely brilliant advantage through the 3rd hairpin and up towards the final 2 corners.
Yes, Max Cook has made his way through the field up to 5th spot, started last on the grid now. So as we come through the final turn, will we have Max Cook maybe make a move into turn number 1? Got a fantastic run from the fast turn 10, late braking into turn number 1. Still, it is Keir Armstrong on bike 122 ahead of your Red Bull Rookies and CEV rider Max Cook. Now further down the field is Taylor Lawrence in 7th, 6th start ahead of Will Howarth, Josh Ingram in 8th, John Ansell in 8th, and Brandon Perrell in 10th spot. So just remember, the best battle on track right now is Keir Armstrong and Max Cook for 4th and 5th position as they head towards turn number 7. Is Armstrong still ahead of Cook? Will Cook maybe make a move? He's lining him up through the fast left-hander into the right, not quite yet.
It did have half a thing going onto the back straight. They're going to pull side by side. Couldn't make it work on that occasion, but Max really pushing down onto the bike, bending the frame almost there side by side into turn number 1, and the number 30 rider makes it through up the inside. There we go, job done. Into 4th place for Max Cook. Yeah, Armstrong demoted down into 5th place, but is battling on through turns 2 and 3. Got a lot of mechanical grip, just letting off the brake a little bit earlier really allowed the bike to roll a bit quicker forward. Is on the fight, so not really going to take this one lying down. left, right and left, the infield section. Such a slow section, many of these riders, especially with the torque that these Extreme 200 machines have got, it's so easy to just overset the bike slightly. You make a bit of a mistake, you lose loads of time, and all of a sudden you've lost a position or two. But we are, I believe, onto the final lap. Richard Holmes-Williams, the number 126, 2.4 seconds ahead of Brad Ray. Brad is starting to close down the gap just a little bit. It's not much though, but not too long with the race to go.
Yes, absolutely. Brad Ray tried to apply the pressure to Richard Holmes-Williams. Holmes-Williams had just soaked it up and has cruised the rest of the way. I say cruised, he's been setting lap record after lap record, the fastest lap of 44.9 as he comes through towards the final turn on the track, popping a wheelie ahead of Brad Ray. It's going to be Richard Holmes-Williams coming across the line. Holmes-Williams takes the race win ahead of Brad Ray, who comes across the line, feet sticking out. He's in the second spot, trying to pop a wheelie over the crest. And in third spot, what a ride it is by the number 6 of Martin Glossop. Then we've got Max Cook just holding off Kiera Armstrong for 4th and 5th place. Taylor Lawrence coming across the line just ahead of Will Howarth, who put on some blistering lap times to catch the number 10 of Taylor Lawrence. John Ansell coming across the line in number 685 ahead of Josh Ingram. And rounding at the top 10, it's going to be Brandon Pearl, a brilliant ride, and he'd managed to just hold off Cam Harris. Charlie Nesbitt will be next up, Jamie King and Harvey Clyde, but they come across the line in a blink of an eye. And of course it's Charlie Nesbitt, Jamie King and Harvey Clyde rounding out your runners and riders.
Well, Richard Holmes-Williams, a great race in that last race for the Extreme 200s, the first Extreme 200s of the weekend. Plenty of action still to come. You're listening to live coverage of round 4 of the 2019 Cool FAB-Racing British Mini Bike Championships. We're live at Tattershall in Lincolnshire for the 4th round of the 2019 season. Quick replays of the race action for those of you joining us on social media. Thank you for joining us on social media. Please leave your comments. Let us know who you're supporting this weekend. But as the action got underway, the sun came out nice and bright. A great field of riders making their way through tight battles, including Brad Ray and Martin Glossop. Up the inside, Kiera Armstrong on Will Howarth quite early on in the race. Will, a great rider, has got a lot of experience. So too, though, does Brad Ray. Was in third, took him a few laps to really size up his opponent, but did, in the end, manage to get past the number 6 rider of Martin Glossop. That was second place. But Richard Holmes-Williams, the race winner. Great battle between the likes of Jamie King and Harvey Claridge, the ever-popular number 20, number 76 rider, and the number 16 rider, duking it out once again in Cool Fab. What wasn't in question, though, was the race winner. Richard Holmes-Williams came over the line. 3.5 seconds was the gap in the end. Hands up, nice and happy at that result. But the Mini F1 sidecars looking to emulate some of the success. It is the Mini F1 sidecars' first race of the weekend. 3 races for all of our categories this weekend. And something to note is that they are a little bit earlier on in the calendar than perhaps they are at some events. Now that poses a few challenges because first of all, it is extremely hot here. There's 2 people on the bike, and that's a lot more heat perhaps than, say, if it's a bit cool, if the sun's not out. Even if it's only 14 or 15 degrees in the air, it's about 23 out there at the moment and the sun's beating down on you. That's going to make the machine's life a little bit more difficult. The tyres, you've got to look after the tyres, make sure they're all up to the correct pressures and the correct grip. It's all a bit of a challenge in, but that's what these riders and, of course, the passengers are out there to do. And it's such a tricky, tight circuit. The rider and the passenger have got to work together.
Absolutely, they've got to work in conjunction, and as we've seen in the last round at Clay Pigeon, some of the passengers bailed out of the rider, so fingers crossed that doesn't happen, because obviously your driver does need the support of you on the back of the bike. Now I always think these sidecars look like go-karts without the left wheel or something like that. They look absolutely brilliant. I love the sound of them, they look incredible, and we've actually got 8 riders this time around, well 16 altogether, but obviously you have 2 on each bike. So we've got Russ Morgan making his debut for the season. It is a motorsport regular as he tries to come into the commentary box, but we've got him at the back of the grid. So as the riders start on their warm-up lap. We've got Mick Williams, our championship leader, who has won every single race, barring the first one, which was race number 1 at Clandau, so far back in March. So we've got Jack Walters in second spot ahead of Mick Lee. So Mick Lee still putting in some great performances, usually third, but has pulled off some second spots ahead of Paul Qualters Jr. on bike number 24. Mark Parker in fifth spot ahead on bike 230. Then we've got Simon Ibbotson on bike number 46, John Hoskart on bike 127, and Russell Morgan on bike 111. So we've got 8 riders to look forward to out there, Dan.
Well, 8 riders, 16 in total when you include the passengers. They've got to work extremely hard around the extremely tight 1 kilometre circuit here at Tattershall. It's going to be some fantastic entertainment for us this first race of the weekend. Mick Williams likely to take victory, as he did many times last season in the category and here at Tattershall. In fact, we raced here twice last season, going to be racing here twice this season as well. I believe the final of this year's championship will also be back at the ever-present Lincolnshire venue. The riders making their way down towards the start-finish line for the first time. For those of you unfamiliar with the layout here at the Tattershall Karting Centre, the start line is basically in the braking zone for the first turn, which is a very tight hairpin, but the finish line is at the start of the start line, so you can't get a great dramatic run deep into the brakes and then go over the line and score your win. You got to do it quite early, but that makes it a bit more of a challenge when you're trying to go side by side with someone. But these riders do know that. The green flag's up, the green flag goes down once again. A poor start from the number 44 of number 44 rider,
like
Mick Lee, that's the one, going into turn 1 for the first time. They all make it through cleanly, so they've all gotten away. Good start by everyone, but the race leader, is it in much question? It is not. It is Mick Williams, the number 25 machine, out there ahead of the next number 2 rider, Jack Waters, in second place. Another consistency, we had that with Josh Bannister, second place for so long in that race. One rider running deep into turn number 4. Do get underway, but they look like they got bogged down in the grass. That was Russ Morgan, I believe, so not a good start for him. Unfortunately, plenty of time to make some more progress within this race, so down to be an 8-lap race. Over the line already, that's how quick our laps are here in Lincolnshire. And a great start by Mick Williams. Jack Walters second. Third place, despite the poor start, it was Mick Lee, the number 44 machine, bright yellow, heading into turn 2 and 3, up into 4th place. It is another good start for everyone out there, Liam.
Yes, as you said, it is a great start from absolutely everyone. No incidents so far on the first lap, but it's that man again. It's Mick Lee challenging Jack Walters, but it's the Mick Williams show once again here at round number 4 at Tattershall. As I say that, it looks like Jack Walters has found his extra speed button, as he's already catching the back of Williams. So as they come down towards turn number 10, the final turn, flat out, the bike is moving underway as they come across the start finish line. Once again, it is Williams ahead of Jack Walters. Mick Lee in third spot on bike number 44. Paul Qualters Jr. Will be next up in fourth spot ahead of Mark Parker, Simon Ibbotson, John Hoskart and Russell Morgan, rounding out the runners and riders at the moment. So Mick Lee is still chasing down the back of Jack Qualters, and as we've started this next lap, he's actually closed into the back of Qualters. So I don't know if Qualters made a mistake, but Mick Lee is all over the back through the tight, twisty stuff, looking one way, looking the other as the bikes move around. Will he look up at the inside into turn number 7? Not quite yet, Dan.
You have to be extremely decisive with making a move in these mini F1 sidecars. Such a late break for the number 44, nearly up the back of the number 2 machine. So much more confidence in the brakes, but the number 2 has the advantage in the straight line speed. Over the line they go. This is a battle for second and third. Into the right-handed hairpin at turn 1. Ducking out, ducking back in again. The number 44, Mick Lee, thinking about making a move for a change of position, couldn't make it work, and this is now where the advantage for the number 44 comes in, through the quick corners, through the traction zones, and again the brakes are so much more confident. A bit of a love tap right up the back of Jack Walters and Passenger. They definitely know they're there now. Into the hairpins once again. Left, right and left. Such a difficult transition to make. The number 44 feeling impatient. Almost diving up the inside. Just can't be bothered waiting behind.
Yes, they cannot wait at all. Very impatient, as you said, there, Dan, and is looking every which way. Just seems to be getting a lot more traction off the corners, but Jack Walters putting up a valiant effort to block the corner as they go in through the tight, twisty stuff in the middle of the track. As they come down towards turn number 1, Mick Lee isn't close enough this time, runs a little bit wide, gets early on the power, and look, Jack Walters, a bit of a mistake as they come through turn number 1, through the fast turn number 2 we go, and of course, it is Mick Lee. Will he try and go up the inside? Not quite, but he's been quite smart here. He's making Walters go defensive. He's looking around the outside, trying to get a great run out of the corners and all over the back of Mick Lee into turn number 6 as they exit that corner and towards the next.
Well, there was also something which just fell off the back of the number 2 machine. Just I couldn't quite see what it was. It was just a black piece of plastic perhaps which came off the back cover of the machine, maybe in effect from the few touches. There is a definite mark on the front of the number 44's nose, bright yellow with a little speck of black on it to represent what it's been up to. Ross Morgan is just being passed by some of the other riders in the race.
Oh,
and there's
Mick
a stop,
Williams.
but that's Mick Williams. Mick Williams at turn number 1 has stopped. There's a problem with the machine. They're weaning it onto the grass. They're investigating the problem now, and such a shame, touch wood, that they can't get going again. The number 26 has had a problem. They're talking between themselves. They don't know what the problem is, but this means we've got a fight on for our race lead. It is still Jack Walters ahead of the number 44 of Mick Lee. Paul Quarters Jr. is promoted to the podium, so it is a Quarters 1 and 3 as it stands. It could be a 2 and 3 because once again extremely late on the brakes, going deep into the final 2 corners is Mick Lee. Is so impatient to try and get a move done. He's making mistakes all over the shop. That could ruin your chances, and with 2 laps to go you haven't got a lot of time to make that time back up.
Yes, it is not a lot of time at all, just under 2 laps remaining. This is Christmas come early for Jack Walters. He's 55 points back in the championship lead, and of course he could be moving up to 30 points as we've got Russell Morgan, who's pulled off at the edge of the track. The turn number 7, yellow flag is out. That means there's no overtaking for Mick Lee just yet. That's unfortunate for the Welshman.
Unfortunate indeed. A big shame for his return to the Lincolnshire circuit at Tattershall. With a lap to go then, they're over the line for the final lap. This is it. This is now such a tense moment for the number 44 machine and the number 2. It is Jack Walters, your race leader. Mick Lee in second place. They're closing up into turn number 1. So much more confident under the brakes. Mick Lee can catch the riders, but with 3/4 of a lap to go, this is all to play for through turn 3 and 4. Mick Lee closing up, closing. He's reeling in, challenging perhaps over the grass, bumping over the grass with half an effort to make an overtake. Half a lap to go into the infield section, and he's going to try and go right around the outside. The number 44 riders left hand side, they touch not once, not twice, a few times. They're into the grass and they've gone into the tyre bale. And an unfortunate end for the number 44 of Mick Lee. And as the checker flag will then come out, it will be Jack Walters who takes the victory through the final corner for the final time. And it is the win for the number 2 machine. Jack Walters and Passenger, they take the checkered flag. That may be reviewed. There was a lot of contact. They were giving a wave to Mick Williams. So waving at Mick Williams after they've taken their win. That is going to be reviewed. That Sidecar's also well and truly stuck, Liam, in the barriers. So that's going to take a bit of earthing out.
Yes, it will do. We've got the medical car coming onto track, as you can see, because, well, we've got Mick Williams just looking as he's under a little bit of pain there. But we've got the Quarters 1 and 2. That is Jack from Paul, ahead of Mark Parker on bike 230, John Hosker on bike 127, 7th and 4th spot. And that was the 4 riders that they came across the start-finish line to complete the race. Mick Lee was next up ahead of Simon Ibbotson. Mick Williams pulled off the circuit early on in the race ahead of Russell Morgan.
Well, that was something we weren't expecting. We had 8 start. We weren't certainly expecting 4 to finish. Good start, though, for Mick Williams. Was initially leading this race off the line. The fight for second place was hotting up. The fantastic battle till the very end between Jack Walters and Mick Lee, the number 2 and the number 44. A few looks up the inside. They had a bit of sparring, a couple of touches, but nothing really else was to come. But then the critical moment, they were bouncing over the curbs. They were getting very close to each other all throughout the race, throwing it one way then the other to try and get that move made, try and get into the lead after the retirement of the number 26 machine of Mick Williams. Heading over the line for the final few laps, Russ Morgan being lapped early on in this race, but that was the critical moment that the number 26 retired. The 2 riders hands up in the air. They weren't expecting that. That certainly wasn't in the script, Liam, but as Russ Morgan goes into retirement, unfortunate shame for him. He was so happy to be back here at Cool Fab, but then the critical moment, the number 44, Mick Lee, they were going side by side with Jack Walters, going around the outside at turn number 5, 1 touch, 2 touch, 3 touches. That was it. They couldn't make it through. They went straight over the barriers into the tyres. The tyres scattered everywhere. And Russ Morgan is bringing his sidecar machine back to the paddock. So did get it underway, carried on. A bit of smoke coming out the back of that.
I just wonder if he lost his passenger, because we never saw his passenger anywhere in sight when he was trying to pull the bike off the circuit. So I wonder if his passenger fell off or he just jumped off somewhere around about the circuit, Dan.
We speak about that now. However, the passenger has been reunited. They're not both on the machine, but they're walking back. And as they make their way back into the paddock, it's going to be a... well, that was absolutely fantastic first race of the weekend for the Mini F1 sidecars. We'll have 2 more races tomorrow. On Sunday, we're here live at round 4 of the 2019 Cool Fab Racing British Mini Bike Championships. Thank you very much for joining us. I am Damo, alongside me, Liam Hodgins. Liam, great racing so far. It's so action-packed. I mean, the heat must be getting to people because it's just so frantic out there.
Yes, as you said, the heat must be getting to people already, because there seems to be a lot of race action going out there. Some people making desperate moves up the inside, which is great for the fans and, of course, for the racing action itself. But, of course, that was a great sidecar race. There are more of that action, please, throughout the rest of the weekend and, of course, the year. So we've got plenty more race action. We've had 3 races down. We've got plenty more to go, and we cannot wait for the rest of the weekend, and it's just going to keep being frantic. Fingers crossed the heat doesn't go up too much, so the riders keep it nice and cool on the circuit.
Well, I'm certainly hoping the heat's not going up. It's absolutely sweltering in here at the moment. But as we take a short break in proceedings just here as the marshals attend to putting the tyres back into position, the number 44 sidecar is heading back into the paddock. Passenger and rider are walking back as well, so good to see them walking back. Big thank you as ever to the marshals and to the medical team and race control. Without you guys and girls, we simply couldn't go racing, so thank you for your swift efforts here today so far. Fingers crossed we won't need your intervention again, but we all ride and race safer knowing that you are there to help us when we need it. So plenty of action still to come. This is round 4 of the 2019 Cool Fab Racing British Mini Bike Championships. We've got plenty more action still to come, including the AC40 Rookies. They'll be coming out in just a few moments' time. This is live from Tattershall in Lincolnshire. Round 4 of the 2019 FAB-Racing British Mini Bike Championships. We are at Tattershall in Lincolnshire for the 4th round of 2019. Thank you for joining us. It is Liam Hodgins and Dan Marr here in the commentary box. We're bringing you all 27 races this weekend on the FAB-Racing channels and on Motorsport Radio. Up next is the AC40 Rookies for their first race of the weekend. And as they prepare to go off to battle, it will be Archie Gibbs and Luke Fitchard. That's your front row, but Liam Hodgins has got the full grid.
Yes, it's a massive grid this weekend of 22 riders, and of course Ollie Sims is our championship leader coming into this weekend 15 points ahead of pole sitter Archie Gibbs. Luke Fitchard rounds out the first row of the grid ahead of Josh Williams. Blake Wilson on bike 108 in 4th spot ahead of your championship leader. That is Ollie Sims in 5th place. Brandon Keane in 6th spot ahead of Luke Schofield on bike number 64. William Harris will be next up in 8th position on bike number 10 ahead of Marco Woltz in 9th spot on the grid, bike number 58. Casey Sperry on bike number 20 on 10th in the grid ahead of Archie O'Brien on bike number 91 in 11th spot. Wilson Dilks will be in 12th spot on the grid ahead of Jacob Stevenson. Harry Payne will be next up in 14th ahead of Thorley Trevorrow, who comes back from Spain last weekend on bike number 42. Max Wilson in 16th spot on the grid ahead of Arnie Carr on bike number 83. Bailey Lawrence in 18th on the grid on row number 9 ahead of Callum Maxwell in 19th on the grid. Then it's Roman Ratcliffe on bike 121 in 20th spot ahead of Chloe Sewell on bike 101, and Izzy Carter rounds out your runners and riders on bike number 46, 22nd on the grid. Last but certainly no.
Well, the 8-lap race will get underway in just a few moments' time. The mark just showing everyone is ready for racing. Is stick up bikes. It is going to be a bit of a tricky thing to really make sure in the right
Yes, absolutely. As you mentioned, is going to go down. This might affect the time as the riders them ever harder throughout this circuit. Now, we're speaking to the riders earlier on in the weekend, and they were saying that the track is very slippery now. It was actually underwater just over a week ago, this circuit, so it's probably not recovered quite so much from that flooding. So as the riders make the way onto the lap right now, just building into the track, fighting. Right, we'll move round on to the lap. So leading the way on
the flag on that, just a continuing green flag lap. Mention the temperature into the tyres, biting correctly, and that you can get the right out of the corners through the final few. Will be time to the rider is back up and all right, so we've got a large 22 riders got should be this race. Feeling excited ahead of their 8-lap race. It is 8 kilometres in this race because it's 8 laps of the 1 kilometre Tattershall circuit in Lincoln. Make time and feel your will be an 8-lap race. It's a good start from Archie Gibbs, the number 3 machine, heading into turn 1. 1 for the first time. Everyone just about filters through. Turn 1 of a tight corner cleanly for the first time. So Archie Gibbs leads this race. Second and third also being fighted for place as well. So already, Liam.
Had the like of Blake Wilson looking up the inside of Josh Williams, but second place in the championship, Archie Gibbs sending them away from pole position up at as the dads and the parents make their way across the track to watch out for their kids, making some great racing out there on the circuit at the moment. But I must admit, as the riders make their way around the circuit at the moment, the coolest bike out there on circuit has to be that of Izzy Carter. Got a really absolutely the grid. Is still leading. Josh Williams, Luke Fitchett in third spot. Blake Wilson in fourth. Championship leader Ollie Sims needs to be working his way up the field very shortly to continue on. Fifth, Marco Holt in sixth ahead of Brad in seventh. Number 20, not to be.
We have had a rider go down at, I believe, I'm not quite sure what that was. We'll get you more information on that in just a bike and about to get into the race. So they seem to be alright. They thump the bike with a big, angry hit. Underway again. So filled with fury. That is the number 8 rider. So that is not good for the rider that was up there fighting nicely. Ollie Sims catching up. But it's side by side. The battle for second and third. Joshua Williams just 2 tenths ahead of Luke Fitchett, is still ahead of Luke Fitchett coming out of turn 1, so had to make a bit of a move, but through the left, through the right, turn 2 and 3, taking very different lines. So a lot of riders like to use all of the exits on the left-handed turn 2 to set themselves up for the right-handed turn 3, taking a tight line into 3. It's a bit of a mixed bag really for some. Some like to take it tighter. What's the kind of line that you think would work for your style of riding?
Well, I quite like to fast and flowing, so I was very in fast, in deep, out fast. So I would be quite going across the track quite a lot when I was racing mini motos back in Scotland 100 years ago, which it feels like. But I quite like the fast sweeping line, a bit like Jorge Lorenzo might ride in MotoGP at the moment. But as the leaders come through the final turn, we had Archie Gibbs still leading the way by, get this, 3.1 seconds. That's nearly a second a lap, as we had Luke Fitchett just looking up the inside ever so slightly up the inside of Josh Williams through turn number 2. The bikes are moving around. Luke Fitchett with a very wide line into turn number 3 there. Will he make a move? Oh, late on the brakes. Yes, he made the move. Luke Fitchett up the inside of Josh Williams. He's pushed him wide, and that is Luke Fitchett up to second spot. Josh Williams down to third.
Well, down to third. He really got sold a dummy. Heading into turn 3, the right-hander, he kept it loose, just let off the brakes that Luke Fitchett went for the gap. It existed, it was taken, and now into second place. So really taking a treat there. But Archie Gibbs running away, 53.305. Getting very close to the track record. In fact, according to our timing screens, that is a new track record by Archie Gibbs for the AC40 Rookies. So flying around this circuit. Luke Fitchett, 4.3 seconds now behind in second place, ahead of Joshua Williams. Ollie Sims comes over the line now, ahead of Brandon Keane. Marco Holt is fighting well for 5th and 6th place. The number 333 rider in 5th, ahead of turn number 2. Marco Holt and Casey Sperry ahead of William Harris. Luke Schofield and Harry Payne, that's your top 10 with 5 laps to go. It's Archie O'Brien ahead of Wilson Dilks, Jacob Stevenson, Blake Wilson and Max Wilson, that's your top 15. Bailey Lawrence ahead of Arnie Carr, Roman Ratcliffe, Callum Maxwell, Chloe Sewell and Izzy Carter. That is your top 21 as it stands so far. But heading through the infield section, many of our riders are up towards the faster late back section of this circuit. And many riders really, they're starting to bunch up a bit. They're just using each other to try and push themselves a bit quicker. we will wait and see.
As you can see, there's a great battle going on for 6th, 7th and 8th. That is Marco Holt, Casey Spadey and William Harris as they come across start-finish line. Now we've got a rider off at the side there at turn number 1. Not quite sure who that was. We'll keep an eye out on that as we have Casey Spadey making a move on Marco Holt. Not quite yet.
There's two bikes down at turn number 1. I'm sorry to interrupt you there, Liam, but there's one bike that's well and truly in the bushes, and then the other rider does get in the way. So we're not sure who that is. We'll let you know who that was. But as everyone gets on the way, yellow flag down there.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think that was Izzy Carter was one of them on the pink bike, pulled off to the side of the circuit there, Dan. Right, so as we get back to the battle for 6th spot now, and of course it is the likes of Casey Spadey just chasing the back of Marco Holt as he head towards the final turn. So we've got Casey Spadey just ahead of William Harris coming across the start-finish line any second now, and as he head down towards turn number 1. Ducking and diving, we had the bike of number 31 nearly clipping the back of another rider. Casey Spadey ducking into the new position into turn number 1, and we have William Harris making a move into 7th spot. So that's 5th, 6th and 7th at the moment. That was through turn number 3, Dan.
Well, coming through turn number 3, that means they're into the infield. There's such a tight, twisty section. The number 333 of Brandon Keane remains ahead of Marco Holt. Through the right, through the left, they've got roughly 2.5 laps to go, so still a bit of time in order to continue this race, continuing the battle. The gap between them on the last lap, I'm not quite sure what it was, but as they make their way over the line, heading up towards the line anyway, Archie Gibbs is now 3.1 seconds ahead of Luke Fitchett.
Yes, absolutely, ahead of Luke Fitchett. Now I've just realised the other rider that went down earlier on, it was Josh Williams. Josh Williams is back up and now in 14th spot, Dan.
Well, he's good, he's up, and he's good, he's back into the points, but it's not as big a points haul as he could have had. Was he still up there, unfortunately, but that's what's happening at the moment. But number 3, Archie Gibbs, continuing on in this race. There's not too long of this race to go. It's certainly going to be one which he's going to remember for scoring quite a lot of points, and that's really all you need to do for your championship challenges, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. Archie Gibbs comes across start-finish line now, heading down towards turn number 1. He'll be eating into the championship lead of Ollie Sims. If everything stays the way it is right now, Dan, it'll be down to 6 points in the championship. Archie Gibbs is just eking those points back on Ollie Sims. Ollie Sims is now up to 3rd spot, but in between those two is Luke Fitchett at the moment. Now the battle for 4th spot still raging on, with Brandon Keane just ahead of Casey Spadey and Marco Holt, with William Harris just dropping back ever so slightly. So as Archie Gibbs makes his way around the back markers on his final lap of the race into turn number 7, up towards turn number 8. This is a cracking ride from the youngster, very commanding indeed. Through turn number 9, the bike is shaking ever so slightly. It looked like he nearly lost the front, but keeps remaining in control of the bike. Through the fast turn 10, right-hander across the start-finish line. Archie Gibbs stands up on his bike. A great win from the number 3 rider there. We're waiting for Luke Fitchett in 2nd spot, 4.8 seconds further back. Ollie Sims will be picking up an important podium position any moment now, coming through the final turn. But Archie Gibbs, stand up, give yourself a round of applause. That was a great ride there. So Ollie Sims in 3rd spot. Brandon Keane will be able to hold off Casey Spadey coming across the start-finish line now, and it's going to be Brandon Keane just takes it. Casey Spadey in 5th spot, Marco Holt, William Harris. You could cover them all with a blanket, they were that close. Luke Schofield in 8th spot ahead of Archie O'Brien. Harry Payne rounds out the top 10 there, Dan. Great racing from all the youngsters there as the checkered flag continues to wave for the rest of the riders. Blake Wilson in 11th. Joshua Williams recovers after a collision with a back marker to come into 12th spot ahead of Jacob Stevenson. Wilson Dilks in 14th ahead of Max Wilson, and Arnie Carr just misses out on the points there. Great race from the AC40 Rookies.
Well, the AC40 Rookies setting up as they mean to go on for the rest of the weekend. Archie Gibbs stamping his authority here in Tattershall. It was a very good race just by going off into the front and making a great gap and not needing to do anything from there. You don't have to work so hard if you're not being battered, you're not being chased. just get on with it as you wish. And for some riders, they do prefer that, with the fastest lap as well as in what we believe is a new track record, 53.297. So great race then, first race of the weekend for the fourth round of the 2019 FAB-Racing British Mini Bike Championships. Thank you for joining us. This is FAB-Racing. You can catch up on all of the 2019 action on the FAB-Racing website on motorsport.radio. We've got a full archive of the 2019 season. So, in case you're catching a bit of action for the first time here, thinking, well, I quite like this, but I want to hear a bit more, maybe even see a bit more over the course of the season, well, go back, have a look on our websites. We'll have great information, not just how you can catch up on all the old racing, how you can get involved. It's free to attend these FAB races, so plenty of action, plenty of racing still to come. Up next though, Liam, it will be the Mini GP70s, the fastest class at FAB Racing. They head towards the grid, and with a bit cooler temperatures now, these bikes may be able to operate in the right window for them, and really will be able to get the they'll know when to push, and this gives them the right temperatures and the right window which to do it as well.
Yes, absolutely. As you mentioned, the track temperature could be in the right operating window for the Mini GP70 class. Now, the Mini GP70s have been giving us some great race action through the year so far. But at the top of the championship is number bike 44. That is James Cook, who holds a 19-point advantage over early championship leader as we have. Well, Dan, you know your airplanes. What kind of plane is that in the sky?
You might be talking about a Dan, but you're talking to the wrong one. I've absolutely no idea.
It's a big plane.
It's D-Day separate. Currently, it's because it's 75th anniversary of the Battle of Britain and D-Day this year. So a flyover IF Coningsby. It's painted in D-Day colours, I'm told. It was. Oh, that's quite interesting. Our producer Lester Forbes talking to us, giving some more information just for context. But painted in D-Day colours, but that was involved with dropping American paratroopers into the various parts of France and the northern Europe in order as part of the battles. But without my family history, my great-grandfather, one of those. But as we head on to the grid, you wouldn't be interested in this. The Mini GP70s, it's the racing. Let's get back to it. Liam Hodgins, you have the grid.
Yes, so the plane might have been battles back in the day, but there's going to be battles out there on the circuit as Evan Belford qualifies in pole position, a very important pole position ahead of James Cook. Eddie O'Shea in second spot in the championship will be third on the grid ahead of Owen Mellor on bike 130. Ollie Walker, who won for his first race last time out at Clay Pigeon, in fifth spot ahead of Ryan Hitchcock in sixth position on the grid. Kyle Payne next up in seventh position ahead of Bailey Stewart Campbell. Johnny Garness qualifying in ninth spot on row number 5 ahead of Harrison Crosby on bike number 69. Saffron Watley on bike 178 and 11th ahead of Emmanuel Brinton, who turns up for his last race weekend this weekend on bike number 93. Sylvan Moundy in 13th spot ahead of Alfie Davidson in 14th. Dylan Mellor next up in 15th spot ahead of Joe Farragher in 16th. Thomas Gomez in 17th ahead of Carter Brown. And rounding out the runners and riders for the start of this Mini GP70 class, race number 1 from round number 4 here at Tattershall is Jamie Woodcock.
So we get ready then for the start, the first of 3 races this weekend for the Mini GP70s. The riders look towards the green flag. We're starting with a flag. It goes up, but it's not when it goes up, it's when it goes down. That is now, and we are underway with a 12-lap race for the Mini GP70s into turn 1 for the first time. It's quite a tight first corner, but everyone manages to get through cleanly. Off the front row, Evan Belford and James Cook have gone through. One rider goes straight on at turn number 2. They're not off the bike, they're just reversing it and going to get back into this race. Good start though by Evan Belford. Last season, Evan did brilliantly at Tattershall, one of his favourite circuits, the number 52 rider, but James Cook with historical form on his side, so strong this season, really challenging. We've got also rider stopped on the exit of turn number 7. Again, thumped the fairing, so these poor old fairings not getting a good day today. The rider's still on the bike, no problem there. They're just being pushed back into the race. But 1 lap complete, 11 laps to go. In fact, I'm being told it's a 14-lap race, so this may well have been extended. Evan Belford and James Cook, though, are your top 2. Eddie O'Shea in 3rd. Then it's a good fight for 4th and 5th place.
Yes, the riders that had unfortunate luck on the first lap was Saffron Watley, who slapped the fairing of a bike, and Dylan Mellor, who pulled off at turn number 2. But they're still in the race and continuing on for the moment. But James Cook, our championship leader, hounding the back of Evan Belford, who's soaking up the pressure at the moment, with Eddie O'Shea in 3rd spot. There's a bit of a gap back to Eddie O'Shea from James Cook. Owen Mellor on bike 130 still chasing the back of our former championship leader. But as they come across the line right now, there's a bit of a gap opening up at the front of the field. Evan Belford sets as 45.0, but as I say that, we had James Cook setting a new fastest lap at 45.031, so the lap times are very close. It looks like James Cook is very close to the back of Belford through the tight and twisty stuff, but through the faster section, it's Belford that pulls away.
And it's not just Belford that's pulling away. The number 43 of Ryan Hitchcock getting well and truly stuck in with Owen Mellor. Very, very close up the back into turn number 7. Almost side by side as they head towards the final 2 corners. A great battle for those two at the moment. Eddie O'Shea just ahead of them. And it's side by side almost for the race leaders. In fact, it was side by side. There has been a change for the race lead. It is the number 44 of James Cook, who now leads with a commanding move around the outside at the final corner. That's extremely brave stuff, even from James Cook's own standards. Evan Belford down into 2nd place, but the 3rd place man, the number 114, Eddie O'Shea, has the new fastest lap at 44.936. Now, very fine margins, that's hardly a tenth quicker, but around a circuit like this, every tenth counts. Also, Ryan Hitchcock starting to close in as well, so all of a sudden what was looking to be perhaps a slightly strung out battle for the race lead, it's a 4-way scrap for this race lead. Over the line once again, it is James Cook, Evan Belford, Eddie O'Shea, Ryan Hitchcock now with the fastest lap into turn number 1. Then it's Owen Mellor and Bailey Stewart Campbell going side by side into turn number 1 as well. No position change for the top 6 so far, but it's clusters 2 by 2 by 2.
Yes, into the arc they go, you might think there, Dan. But got to look back to Owen Mellor in 5th spot. He's showing the kind of form that he's not shown since round number 1 when he picked up 3rd place in race number 2. Ever since then, he's gone off the face of the earth ever so slightly, but he's back, showing some great form. And 5th spot, holding off Bailey Stewart Campbell at the moment. But it's Ryan Hitchcock that we need to keep a close eye out on. He set the fastest lap of the race, and he's chasing down Eddie O'Shea as they come through the final turn. The leaders come across the line. Evan Belford setting up a move into turn number 1 from James Cook. Up the inside he goes. Will he make the move stick? Not quite, late on the brakes, but we've got James Cook even later on the brakes. That's absolutely fine there. So we've got Ryan Hitchcock in 4th through turn number 2 into 3. Can he make a move on Eddie O'Shea before the end of the race? We've got a yellow flag out there on the circuit, Dan.
Not sure who that's for. They are underway and back into the race, so maybe the heat still affecting a few of our bikes. James Cook leads. It's still 2nd place for Evan Belford. Ryan Hitchcock is no longer wanting to be in 4th place. He's challenging the back of the 114 rider for that final step on the rostrum. The race leaders still nose to tail over the line. It is James Cook, Evan Belford. They're side by side once again into turn number 1. Can this be the move the number 52 needs to make? Oh. Yes, they make contact as the front wheel almost touches, and it did touch for James Cook. James Cook pushed back into 2nd place, and it is now Liam a 4-way scrap for the lead. Cook, Belford, O'Shea and Hitchcock.
Now the sun is coming out over the track a little bit, heating the track up, but it's the battle on track that's heating up ever more. That's going to enrage James Cook as they have 9 laps to go, 8.5 laps to go. He wouldn't have expected Evan Belford to do that, but he has done it. So can James Cook make a move? As we've been talking about that, we've had Ryan Hitchcock move into 3rd spot, the fastest rider on the track, the lap record holder now. He's making a way across start finish line. Will he make a move into turn turn number 1. Late on the brakes, not quite just yet. But as you can see in the background, we've still got Owen Mellor and even Bailey Stewart Campbell.
And a big moment, sorry to interrupt you, Leonard, but an extremely big moment for Ryan Hitchcock. Too much power, too quickly, almost threw the bike from under him. But a good, masterful piece of bike handling to keep that. But we give him too many compliments, and like that, it changes. It's such a shame, but he is in this race, will continue on, and I believe he is still in 4th or 5th place. Now, they're going through a few other runners and riders in this race, which adds another level of complexity to the battle, because you've got to know when to pick your moments, when to overtake the traffic, especially in the tight sections of this course. Evan Belford doesn't have this problem. The number 52 is Evan Belford, the grey bike and white helmet, into turn number 1. James Cook second. Eddie O'Shea now into 3rd place, still just ahead of Ryan Hitchcock. And now Bailey Stewart Campbell's closing into this battle as well.
Yes, as you said, Bailey Stewart Campbell into 5th spot. That happened there on the last lap when Owen Mellor had a bit of a moment coming through turn number 6. Lost the rear end. Bailey Stewart Campbell got down in the power and ahead of the number 130 rider. Not sure if the tyres are starting to go off now. There's been a few moments for Ryan Hitchcock and Owen Mellor, so asking too much from the throttle. The rear tyre screamed too much and nearly thrown them out of the seat, but luckily they're still in the race for the moment. The race leaders come across start finish line. We've got Evan Belford pulling out a bit of a gap at the front. It's up to half a second now. There's 6 laps remaining, but it's Bailey Stewart Campbell is making moves. Bailey Stewart Campbell, fastest lap of the race, new lap record at 44.8.
Well, a great new lap record. Joins in the battle for 3rd place. It's still the number 114 of Eddie O'Shea in 3rd, ahead of Ryan Hitchcock. Ryan Hitchcock maybe a little calmer after that moment a few moments ago. Bailey Stewart Campbell, the new addition to this battle, with that new fastest lap, the new lap record. That tells just how hot and good the conditions are with this track surface, really getting into good bites for these bikes. As we say that, 8 laps completed, and it's 5 laps to go as 9 laps are now completed, side by side between Ryan Hitchcock and Eddie O'Shea. Ryan Hitchcock up the inside, job done. And now the number 43 rider once again back into 3rd place. Bailey Stewart Campbell, though, is going to try not make a good move of this as well. He's not taking it lying down, though. Then nose to tail, the top 3 all getting close. 3rd, 4th and 5th this battle. Up the inside goes Bailey Stewart Campbell, has a look, almost made contact with Eddie O'Shea. So having calmed it down just a little bit, Ryan Hitchcock heading the game back into 3rd place.
That was such a shame for Eddie O'Shea. Got pushed the back marker out of the way, which seemed to give him a bad run onto the home straight, which meant that Ryan Hitchcock could make his way into 3rd. But we've got Harrison Crosby. This is Harrison Crosby, stopped at the edge of the circuit. Horrible for the number 69 rider. He's off the circuit out of turn number 4 into turn 5. So not quite sure what bike troubles hit that rider there. But as we look towards the race leaders at the moment as they come towards turn number 4. Have we got Max Cook in the lead? We've got Max Cook.
We've got James Cook in the lead, yes.
James Cook, sorry, that Max Cook is his brother. That's James Cook in the lead of the race now. Not quite sure if that happened during the back markers. They were coming through a lot of the back markers there, so it could have been that James Cook has made progress through the back markers a little bit better than Evan Belford, and he's now back into the lead of the race as they come through turn number 9. Now we've got Belford, great run through the corner. Now we've done this a couple of laps ago. Great run through turn number 10 along the start finish line once again. Late on the brakes into turn number 1. Belford up the inside of Cook. Belford back into first. Cook knew it was coming, so he didn't get sat up as much as he did last time. That is Belford once again back into first position, but there's a couple of laps remaining. Can James Cook make another move to catch the lead of the race?
Well, that's the thing we were talking about reading the conditions, reading those of you who are around you, because some of the riders who can do it better tend to be the ones, especially at this tight and twisty track, to make the best progress and make the moves where it needs to happen. But James Cook, yes, was in the lead of the race, goes a little deeper, but Evan Belford is racing well and truly at the moment over the line, and it is Evan Belford confirmed as the race leader with 2 laps to go. James Cook 3/10 behind. Ryan Hitchcock in 3rd. Eddie O'Shea and Bailey Stewart Campbell 3rd, 4th and 5th through turns 2 and 3. Left and a very long right, a winding right for 3rd, 4th and 5th place riders. They are still keeping their battle tooth and nail. Ryan Hitchcock not being able to get the gap perhaps that he would have liked. Eddie O'Shea right on the coattails, part of that being his experience within the British Talent Cup. Of course, we are on the road to MotoGP and the official partner series to BSB. Many of these young riders are going to be going on to fantastic new pastures in the not too distant future. But speaking of the not too distant future, this is the final lap. Over the line for the final time. Evan Belford is your race leader, 7/10 now ahead of James Cook. That is almost certain, but with a few riders ahead, they need to get past with a bit more traffic. Well, it could all change once again, Liam.
Yes, absolutely, Dan. There's a back marker coming up to the leaders now. Will Belford make the way past the back marker? James Cook's made a few mistakes in the last couple of laps. Round the outside, yes, he's cleared him out the way, but James Cook seems to be the one that's got caught up with the back marker. So Belford has been let off the hook with only a few corners remain, but the battle for third is still heating up as they head towards the final hairpin. Has Eddie O'Shea got anything in the locker for the likes of Ryan Hitchcock? Not quite, but as they come through the final turn, it's going to be Evan Belford across the line, your race winner for the Mini GP70s. James Cook extends his championship lead in second spot ahead of Ryan Hitchcock, and Eddie O'Shea, your former championship leader from earlier on in the season, is in fourth spot ahead of Bailey Stewart Campbell, who set the fastest lap of the race at 44.8. Ollie Walker next up in sixth. Owen Mellor, after a fantastic start running in fourth at one point, dropped back to seventh. Johnny Garnett starting in ninth, moved up to eighth ahead of Kyle Payne, and Emmanuel Brinton rounding out the top 10.
What a good race then for our two race leaders. Evan Belford, the winner, ahead of James Cook. Some fighting action in that first race of the weekend from them. Heading up towards the paddock though, they did shake hands, so very, very close between the two of them. But many highlights of this race, the first Mini GP70 race of the weekend. Well, it all started with a good start from Evan Belford and James Cook. Saf Watley having troubles with the bike and was absolutely furious, thumping the front fairings. A bit of damage on that bike, but did, we believe, carry on to the end. Did take the checkered flag, so all was well for Saffron in 15th place. So scoring a point, not bad indeed. But the fight for the race lead between Evan Belford and James Cook. It wasn't just that fight though. The battle for third was one that raged throughout the entirety of the race. Eddie O'Shea, Ryan Hitchcock, two of the riders involved. Bailey Stewart Campbell then closing in with a few laps to go. Side by side for the race lead. The first move being made by Evan Belford up the inside. A little deep, couldn't bite it, almost threw James Cook off, although managed both to carry on with no real problem between the two. And Evan Belford was leading. Ryan Hitchcock battling for second place, and then an almighty moment, the rear let go. Such a tank slapper, but did masterfully keep it on the island. So great bike control from Ryan, the number 43 rider. As we then start looking further into the race, they were having to negotiate their way around a few other runners and riders within this race. It was a bit of a challenge. James Cook did get ahead through the traffic, used his head, but couldn't beat the raw speed of Evan Belford. He did it once, he did it twice, took the lead into turn number one on the inside. No contact on this occasion, kept it through nice and clean, and as came over the line, taking the checkered flag, and a great win for Evan Belford, the first of three races here at Tattershall for the Mini GP70s. Hand up in the air, delighted with that, shakes the hand of James Cook. So nice friendly action between the two of them, but so hot out on circuit. Thank you for joining us. Liam Hodgins and Dan Marr here. We are at Tattershall in Lincolnshire for round 4 of the 2019 Cool FAB-Racing British Mini Bikes Championships. Thank you for joining us. We are at Tattershall. Up next, it is the AC40 Pros, from one great set of young riders to another as they make their way on to the grid. The sun is out and we will have the grid done in just a few moments time. The marshals making sure everyone is in the right order. It's due to be a 9-lap race, although one or two lap distances have changed, so that could be confirmed otherwise in just a few moments. Everyone getting up into the right positions. A few clouds have appeared, Liam, but the temperature soaring once again. These AC40 machines they don't cope with the hot temperature quite so well at times, do they?
Yes, there's been a few incidents over the weekend under the hot pressures of the Tattershall sunshine, and it's a slippery track, as we've heard from some of the riders over the weekend. Mason Foster was one of those riders that went down over the weekend, but as you can tell, he is back up. The championship leader is starting in pole position for today's race, so that will be, it's good to see that Mason Foster will be starting this race, and of course from pole position. So as we said, Mason Foster starting in pole position ahead of Ethan Sparks on the front row of the grid. Clayton Edmonds will be next up on row number 2 in third spot. And next up alongside him we have Samuel Munson on bike number 72 in fourth position on the grid. In fifth is Henry McCartney on bike number 31. Warwick Brady is in 6th place. Next up is Greg Marshall in 7th on row number 4. Finnan Wedity is in 8th ahead of Charlie Huntingford on row number 5 in 9th spot. Rounding out the top 10 is Ruben Bray ahead of Max Wedity. We have a couple of riders down on the warm-up lap. They're both up and okay, which is great to see from both the riders there. So it looks like we had Warwick Brady might be one of those riders. I'm not quite sure what the other one is, so they're battering the handlebar back into place. Fingers crossed they can make the start of this race, but we might get a slight delay on the start of this race if the riders can't make it back onto the grid. But they have done the background and are quickly making their way to the start of the grid, Dan.
Well, they're making their way back to the grid, but having accidents at the start of the race is better than having them in the race, one could suggest. So, as everyone else is getting ready for the race start, the AC40 Pro's first race of the weekend. It's going to be a good one for these young riders. Mason Foster and Ethan Sparks due to start on the front row of the grid, and it's going to be another scorcher here at Tattershall. This is round 4 of the 2019 FAB-Racing British Mini Bike Championships, the official partner series to the Bennett's British Superbike Championship on the road to MotoGP. We're on the road to the start. The green flag goes up, the green flag goes down. We are underway. A good start by Mason Foster into the lead immediately into turn 1. However, and a good start from a few rows further back. It looked like Clayton Edmonds and Henry McCartney got some good traction from a little bit further back. That really did aid them, making their way through turns 2 and 3 for the first time. Left and right, a very tricky balance to get a load of speed through there, but side by side for 3rd and 4th place into the infield for the first time. But everyone gets underway safely. That's exactly what we wanted. But Mason Foster, not unexpectedly, runs away with it. Has a great gap already heading up towards the final few corners. And it will be Ethan Sparks, who did start in 2nd place, certainly a little different, Liam.
Yes, absolutely, Dan. But Mason Foster is out in the lead, commanding this race at the moment, chasing his 9th win of the season, when race number 10 for the AC40 Pros. So only one of those races he didn't win, and that was way back at Red Lodge, race number 2. So as the riders complete lap number 1, Ethan Sparks is still in 2nd, but only a second. I say only a second. That is a second behind Mason Foster. Samuel Munson in 3rd spot, Clayton Edmonds in 4th, Henry McCartney in 5th ahead of Warwick Brady, Finnan Wedity, Greg Marshall in 8th, Charlie Huntingford in 9th, Ruben Bray in 10th ahead of Max Wedity, running out the top 11, all the runners and riders. But we've got a good battle going on for 3rd spot. That is Samuel Munson and Clayton Edmonds. These two have met on track many times so far this year as they head towards turn number 9. We still have Samuel Munson ahead of Clayton Edmonds as they've made their way through turn number 9. Bike shaking, a very horrible corner there, Dan.
Well, it's not a great corner to go through with a load of space. We've got a rider who stopped on the exit of turn number 7. We're not sure who that is. They're restarting the bike. It's at number 31. So that is Henry McCartney. Throws the bike onto the floor. So the marshal clearly not happy with that at all. So that's not a good sign. So yellow flags are out at that particular section. Out is Henry McCartney, but Mason Foster leads this race, heading through turn number 7 now. So making their way through the final portion of this lap once again. Ethan Sparks and Samuel Munson, they were not quite so close to each other on that lap, but as we go over the line to start yet another lap in this race, Mason Foster, the number 88, set the fastest lap on that last lap. No new fastest lap on this one though. So Foster, Sparks, Munson and Edmonds, third and fourth, battling into turn number one. They're side by side. Can they make the move up the inside? Not quite. Samuel Munson retains the position so far. So 72 ahead of 146, making their way into turns 2 and 3. Now you've got to set them up for the infield. The infield's such a tricky section. These little AC40 bikes can get around there a lot quicker. They're a little bit less mechanical grip, say, but because they're so light, they can really flow through there. The riders, line astern, not able to make a move at this moment, just being patient, Liam, and waiting to set up a move.
Yes, absolutely. Being patient is the name of the game, and patience is what Clayton Edmonds will need for Samuel Munson to try and grab the final podium position. But as we look a little bit further back down the field, Finn and Werity is making some moves on Warwick Brady in 5th and 6th position as they come through the final turn. But have we got a move for 3rd spot? Yes, we do. It's going to be Edmonds up the inside, late on the brakes. Not quite yet. We have Munson still in 4th spot, but Edmonds isn't letting this lie down just yet. The bikes were moving and shaking as they were late on the brakes into turn number 1, but as they head towards turn number 4, the gap opens up through the fastest sections of the track. But then again, we have Edmonds just drawing the gap back in through the tight and twisty stuff, and then as we head down towards turn number 1, he's already back onto the back of Munson. So we've got Mason Foster still in the lead of this race, but the last lap there pulled out another 4/10 of advantage over Ethan Sparks.
Really just running away with it. It's absolutely brilliant pace for the number 88 rider. Ethan Sparks 3.4 seconds behind now, so that gap increasing once again. Samuel Munson still ahead of Clayton Edmonds into turn number 1. Still can't quite make the move, so whilst they are side by side, it's going to be very, very close between the two of them. A little bit of contact, it looked like to me. They just nosed each other out as they made their way into the infield section once again. But that's where such a close battle for Samuel Munson, really soaking up the pressure very well so far, retaining that final step on the podium. Clayton Edmonds desperate for an extra medal to go with his collection, and it does require a certain level of sizing up. He's been trying to go up the inside, Clayton, for a few laps at turn 1. It's clearly not working, so he kept up out of turn number 1, tried to go side by side through the final corner, couldn't make it work, getting a good run, head down into the braking zone, move still can't be made. Samuel Munson has got him covered into turn 1, but out of turn 2, this slingshot, such a great run, they're side by side in the last lap, couldn't keep it up on this lap. And we've got 4 laps to go, so halfway through this race now, so there isn't as much time perhaps as you would want, so you have to get on with it with an element of certainty.
Yes, absolutely, but as I said a couple of laps ago, Clayton Edmonds closes the gap up through the tight and twisty stuff, and as we see that, and of course Munson pulls away at the start of the lap. So as they come across start finish line, we always have Edmonds all over the back of Samuel Munson. So around turn number 9, this battle for 3rd is not dead and buried just yet. We always have Edmonds getting a great run through the final turn, as we have now along the home straight into turn number 1. Will Edmonds make a move late on the brakes up the inside? Not quite yet, just sizing up his rival for the last couple of laps. 3 laps to go, and of course will Edmonds maybe make a move into turn number 2? Not quite yet. Very, very fast paced stuff from Samuel Munson through the first couple of corners there. So let's not forget our race leader Mason Foster is going into to try and win his 9th race of the season out of 10, ahead of Ethan Sparks, who is on screen at the moment. Ethan Sparks in 2nd spot, who is a full 4 seconds ahead of the battle for 3rd. That is Munson and Edmonds. Warwick Brady in 5th spot ahead of Finnan Werity, who's not made any moves on Warwick Brady just yet. Charlie Huntingford in 7th, ahead of Greg Marshall, Ruben Bray in 9th, and Max Werity rounds out the top 10. So we've only had 1 DNF from this race so far, and that's Henry McCartney.
Henry McCartney out, unfortunately. We have got 2 more races for him tomorrow, so hoping to see Henry McCartney back out once more. The battle still goes on for 2nd and 3rd and 4th, well, the 3rd and 4th as Samuel Munson and Clayton Edmonds almost nose to tail, almost side by side into turn number 2. Had a look at a move, couldn't make it work through the infield in turn number 2. There's also a great battle going on at the moment. Warwick Brady and Finnan Werity, that's 5th and 6th, into the final few corners for them now. It's going to be very close, but as the final lap is started, the final lap for Mason Foster, he's heading towards turn number 1. There's got 1 lap left to win.
Yeah, it looks like we've still got a battle for third as they come across that finish line. We've got Edmonds making a move into turn number 1. Will Edmonds make the move late on the brakes? And it's very late indeed from Edmonds, but he's still in 4th spot. Samuel Munson still holding the lead, or I say lead, at 3rd place at the moment through turns 2 and 3. It is still Munson. Can Edmonds make a move towards the end of this lap? It's not looking like they're doing it just yet. Mason Foster on screen as he heads towards turn number 8, the fast left-hander into the tight turn number 9. Mason Foster has commanded this lead, this win, and he's 8 seconds ahead of his next challenger, Ethan Sparks. As Mason Foster rounds the final turn, it's going to be 9 races out of 10 for Mason Foster on bike number 88. Great ride from the youngster. 9 races, as I said, out of 10, extending the championship lead. Ethan Sparks comes across the line in second, but who will be third? Will it be Munson or Edmonds? Across the line side by side is Samuel Munson holding 3rd spot, the final podium position ahead of Edmonds, Warwick Brady, and of course Max Finn and Werity 5th and 6th as they come across the line any second now through the final turn. Who will it be? Will it be Brady? Will it be Werity? It's going to be Brady in 5th spot, running at the top 5. Finn and Werity put a valiant effort in to challenge the top 5, but comes across the line in 2nd. Greg Marshall in 7th spot ahead of Charlie Huntingford in 8th, and Ruben Bray 9th place. And we've had a small incident on track. Who will it be? So it looks like the riders not too happy, but we have the riders back on track, standing up at the moment. So that was a very close battle at the end. It looks like that was Max Werity. It was Max Werity in the final lap there on bike 110.
Well, a shame there for Max right at the very end of the race. Comes over the line to take the checkered flag, but another great victory for Mason Foster, the number 88, once again winning. We're saying that so much this season, it's getting a little tiresome, one supposes, but beyond that, a great ride from the number 88, the AC40 Pro Race 1. And we'll be coming out, as with all our classes, 2 more races tomorrow. It started as it meant to go on with some action. A few riders falling out of turn number 5 on the warm-up lap, and make sure that they did get underway. They did get underway, and they were quite happy to battle. Henry McCartney had a problem, technical problem with the bike. He gets off the bike. The marshal then, very angry, throws it onto the grass, bounces, and well, hopefully that's all fixed and repaired by tomorrow. Samuel Munson and Clayton Edmonds. Race long battle continued into turn 1 was their best opportunity. A rider then having a moment that was Max Werity, as mentioned, right at the very end of the race. Not quite sure what happened there, but that is the end of the AC40 Pros. We move on now to the Pit Bike 140 and Moto Team race. And you're here with us. This is round 4 of the 2019 FAB-Racing British Mini Bikes Championships. We are heading on to the green flag lap now. It's going to be quite the large entry, 21 riders at the moment. And as the marshals, just making sure everyone is in this race. Another one where Brad Ray will be racing. The number 28 rider, Brad Ray, winner in the Bennett's British Superbike Championship, our official partner series. And many riders have come from the FAB paddocks into BSB, into national racing, international racing at very high level. So there's plenty of young talent here to enjoy, plenty of young talent here to have the... Oh yeah, plenty. So basically, plenty of young riders and older riders here who've gone on to great things at all levels. Cameron Horsman also in this race, former British Talent Cup rider. Of course, one of the championships that many of our riders do go into from the FAB-Racing paddocks. Many riders are getting up to weight, and the number 16 is Harvey Claridge, qualified in 2nd. And just a reminder of the cardboard fairings run aboard that machine. Was set up as a bit of a joke, but has basically carried on, so I think that's going to be on there for the rest of time, Liam.
Yes, absolutely, Dan. Giving the front end some downforce like the Ducatis in MotoGP. I thought it was quite funny between Harvey Claridge and Cameron Horsman. Maybe Claridge was Horsman was letting out some air of Claridge's front tyre, but I doubt that'll happen. He doesn't want to make the the bike any less easier to ride. So, as we've got the 21 riders on the grid, it's a little bit down compared to Clay Pigeon when we had a huge grid of 30 riders. That was a little bit manic last time out at round number 3, but we're going to have the green flag lap starting in a couple of seconds time as the riders are still lining up on the grid. We've got the grid ready and forming. As you might notice throughout the race, there's a bike at the back of the grid, bike 134 in some very retro looking leathers. That is Iona Glover, so looking very classy out there at the moment.
Well, we had the number 16 of Harvey Clouds just jumping up and down off the bike, so clearly getting a bit of a sore leg situation aboard that, but the riders do now head off into the green flag lap. It's a 1 kilometre course here at Tattershall. 21 riders. How do they line up?
So Jamie King will be starting in pole position. Your championship leader was looking very forward to head to qualifying 2 as he was fastest in qualifying 1. He's kept that ahead of Harvey Claridge on bike number 16. Charlie Nesbitt is also in this race on bike number 86 in 3rd spot ahead of Will Howarth. Brad Ray will be starting from 5th spot on bike number 28 ahead of Richard Holmes Williams in 6th position. Matthew Bolsover, our previous championship leader, will be starting in 7th spot ahead of Ashley Midwood in 8th position there. We've got Ian Jackson 9th position on the grid on bike number 7 ahead of Tom Ward running out the top 10. Simon Clowes on the Moto Team bike will be on 11th place on the grid on bike number 133 ahead of Bernie Hook. Sean Whittaker in 13th ahead of Fraser Kinnaird. Daniel Gilbert in 15th spot ahead of Jason Pugh in 16th on bike number 8. Neil Kinnaird on bike number 83 and 17th ahead of Alistair Kinnaird on bike number 5. Roger Monks in 19th, and it's going to be Vince Bailey running at the top 20 ahead of 134 Iona Glover.
Well, Iona Glover is getting up to the positions in the grid, but the number 28 rider Brad Ray will start in 5th place. We mentioned him just a few times. The likes of Jamie King and Harvey Clouds also ones to keep an ear out for, but no Charlie Nesbitt, I'm told, as well. So as they get underway now, green flag has gone as one rider immediately pulling off to the side of the grid. Not sure who that is. They are on the bike. They've just pulled off, so a technical problem with that bike, you could suppose. But Jamie King gets a good start. He's just about leading from Harvey Claridge. Harvey Claridge was going side by side up towards the infield for the first time. Claridge up the inside, so Harvey Claridge leads this race. 2nd place for Jamie King, 3rd place for Bradley Ray, 4th place at the moment, I'm not too sure, but it's the number 421, I believe, who is the one that stopped on the grid, Liam.
That's Matthew Bolsover, has pulled off at the start of the grid. Very lucky to not be hit by any riders behind them as he started in 7th position. But Harvey Claridge up into the lead of this race through the tight and twisty stuff, which he's been proving he's been incredible at throughout the whole season. Brad Ray's pushed down to 4th spot as he looks over his shoulder. He's got a bike problem. He wheelies across the line. Maybe he's just having a little bit of fun out there, but Brad Ray down to 4th spot. But it's Harvey Claridge ahead of Jamie King. Will Howarth moves up to 3rd spot. Brad Ray down to 4th. Richard Holmes Williams in 5th. Ashley Midwood 6th. Ian Jackson 7th. Simon Clowes in 8th. Tom Ward 9th. And Fraser Kinnaird rounding out the top 10 as Matthew Bolsover sits at the edge of the circuit, not looking too happy with his luck in this race. But Harvey Claridge is pulling a great lead at the start as Brad Ray is getting hounded by Richard Holmes Williams and Ashley Midwood for 4th, 5th and 6th.
Brad certainly enjoying some good racing this weekend here at Tattershall, and is up the inside, was certainly looking up the inside of Richard Holmes Williams, now under attack from the number 26 rider of Ashley Midwood. So over the line they come once again. Brad side by side on the inside line, rider's right hand side of Richard Holmes Williams. No avail though, so couldn't make the position through. It is Harvey Claridge 0.5 of a second ahead of Jamie King. Will Howarth is in 3rd place, also the first of the Moto Team riders. Great riding from Will Howarth. Fastest lap so far and challenging the back of the number 76 rider. Then behind them it is Richard Holmes Williams. Brad Ray still under attack from Ashley Midwood, and in fact has been passed by Ashley Midwood. So Brad Ray down another position heading up towards turn number 7. Followed by Ian Jackson and Simon Clowes, Tom Ward and Fraser Kinnaird, the top 10. Matthew Bolsover has returned to the pit lane, so unfortunately is confirmed out of this race. Almost a change for 2nd place as well, heading into turn 1. Jamie King coming under increased pressure from Will Howarth as they go through turns 2 and 3. Harvey Claridge not feeling a problem Jamie King is being attacked heading into turn number 4.
Yes, Harvey Claridge has pulled a bit of a gap at the top of the field, and it's Jamie King that's going to be feeling the pressure from Will Howarth. As you said, Dan, earlier on, set the fastest lap of the race. Can we see a Moto Team rider win it, the first outright race of the year? Oh, a bit of a moment there from Will Howarth, out of the seat, out of turn number 7 there. That's okay, still in the lead of the third spot in the race, but still he's all over the back of Jamie King. Through the final turn, Jamie King has a bit of a moment. Will Howarth get alongside him? Yes, he does. Late on the brakes in turn number 2. That is into second spot. That is Will Howarth into second spot in the race, and chasing down your early race leader, that is Harvey Claridge, who's not pulled away as much as we might have thought he might have early on in this race. So we've got a group of 3 out front. That's Claridge, Howarth and King.
Into turn 4, the first of the very tight hairpins. You go left, then right, then left again. It's going to be very close. Will Howarth has got so much confidence aboard the Moto Team machine. Harvey Claridge struggling for pace a little bit. On that last lap was a couple of tenths slower than Jamie King and Will Howarth. Heading towards the final corner now. Very long run. This is where Will Howarth got his success once before. He's squeezed all the way to the end of the side. On the right hand side, he goes up for the inside at Harvey Claridge. He can't take the race lead. He almost took the rear wheel off him. But as they make their way through turns 2 and 3, once again, it's getting ever closer between the pair of them.
Yes, Harvey Claridge is the last of the late breakers. Will Howarth is going to have to ride around the outside or through Harvey Claridge if he wants to try and lead this race. So Jamie King still in third spot, but looks like there's a bit of a gap opening up between Claridge and Howarth, which means that we've got a group of 2 battling for the race win now. Claridge seems to have upped his pace now that he knows that Will Howarth is all over the back as they head down towards the final turn. Jamie King, can he pick up the pieces if these 2 make a mistake? Across start finish line once again. Will Howarth, Harvey Claridge, Will Howarth make the last of the late breakers? Not quite. Claridge still round the outside. There's a bit of a back marker in the way now. That is Iona Glover pushed out towards the edge of the track, but Claridge making some great late braking moves to stay in the lead of this race from Will Howarth.
But will it be enough though? This is the trouble. The number 96 rider has got so much straight line speed. Okay, they can just about keep it up in the infield sections, but Harvey Claridge is using every inch of the road in order to stay ahead in the race lead so far. We're on lap 6 at the moment, 7 laps to go into the second last corner, and Will Howarth tucked in right behind the number 16 rider. They go side by side once again. Harvey is getting wise to this and can break so much later. They're side by side, but Will Howarth makes it stick. He leads this race, but down has gone. I'm not sure who
Claridge.
Claridge has gone down. Yeah, it was Claridge who went down. So what happened there? My goodness me. He just couldn't take being overtaken, could he?
He was off into the dirt on the wide line as Will Howarth came past. Harvey Claridge tried to get back on the throttle early, but the front tyre screamed far too much and down Claridge went. But he's back into the race, and I don't believe he lost too many positions. No, he didn't. He's still in third spot. So can he maybe catch the back of Jamie King before the end of this race? 6 laps to go. Will Howarth now has a huge lead ahead of Jamie King with only 5 laps to go as they come across start finish line any second now.
Will Howarth over the line, our new race leader, the leading rider overall and in Moto Team. 1.5 seconds is the gap between himself and Jamie King. Then Harvey Claridge is a further 3.3 seconds behind Jamie in third place. Ashley Midwood up to 4th, having passed Ian Jackson. Richard Holmes Williams is up into 6th ahead of Simon Clowes. Then it's Tom Ward ahead of Brad Ray. So number 21 versus number 28. 2 mates having a bit of fun out there so far. Then it is Fraser Kinnaird in your top 10. 5 laps to go. We're on lap 8 at the moment. And Will Howarth is your race leader.
Know how I said that Harvey Claridge might try and make all the moves possible to try and close back in Jamie King. And it looks like that's happening. It looks like Harvey Claridge is on a very quick lap at the moment as King crosses the line to start the next lap. We've got Claridge in the background at the moment, and he's 0.2 of a lap faster. Jamie King, a bit of a moment there. Back to Brad Ray, who's all over the back of his fellow Suzuki rider. Well, in this race anyway. That is number 21. Tom Ward has moved ahead of Brad Ray over the last couple of laps as they take off another lap. Looks like Brad Ray And of course, Tom Ward are just having a bit of fun out there. So Tom Ward still holds 8th place ahead of Brad Ray as they come through past the bag markers into turn number 2. Brad Ray setting up, letting Tom Ward ahead.
Going wide was the number 16 rider of Harvey Claridge out of turn number 5. There's also a yellow flag at turn number 8. There's a rider, can't see who it is. I think it's a Moto Team rider who has just gotten off the bike. Technical problem with that and heading for retirement. So a shame there. Just confirmation of that rider down at turn number 8. And someone else has gone down at the same corner as well. My goodness me. So that seems to be a bit of a hot spot for trouble. They're pointing. Is there oil down at turn number 8? There could well be. They were pointing to the marshals at the apex, so perhaps there is. Red flag. There's a red flag. Confirmed a red flag with 2.5 laps to go. A red flag because of that thing down at turn number 8. So that is, we're not quite sure as to why. We will get you more confirmation as and when we can, and we won't know whether that's a result as of yet. There's also rider stops at turn number 6. That, I believe, is the number 8 machine. I think, looking out the window, it looked like to be the number 8. Carrying on though, so no real problem, just slowing down with technical issues. Well, as for that, red flag with 2 laps left to go, according to our timing screens for the Pit Bike 140 and Moto Team riders. Could well be a result, although we will get confirmation for that in just a moment. But if it is, it would mean that the Moto Team rider, Will Howarth, the number 96, takes the victory in Moto Team and overall. And I certainly can't recall that happening for a long while in cool FAB-Racing. So confirmation then, according to what I'm being told, Will Howarth is your race winner. Winner in Moto Team, winner in the overall class as well. Pit Bike 140, Jamie King was the winner. So took pole position and took the victory in class. Extremely happy with that, I can imagine Jamie will be. Harvey Claridge and Ian Jackson were 3rd and 4th, ahead of Simon Clowes, Richard Holmes Williams and Tom Ward. So Clowes and Ward are your 2nd and 3rd in the Moto Team category. Brad Ray was in 8th, ahead of Fraser Kinnaird. Sean Whittaker is the man who rounds out the top 10. But just a reminder then, the first Pit Bike 140 and Moto Team race of the weekend. Everyone gets away cleanly into turns 2 and 3 for the first time, and well, it's a bit of a challenge. Problem for the number 421, that was Matthew Bolsover into retirement off the grid, so a shame for him. Brad Ray was having a few battles with a few riders, enjoying being overtaken as well as doing a bit of overtaking here and there. Brad really is a very talented rider, getting past by the number 26 into turn number 5. But the battle for second place started to emerge between Jamie King and Will Howarth. Then it didn't emerge because it had already happened. Carrying on, it then a few attempts made. The number 96 on the number 15, number 16 of Harvey Claridge. They fought for a few laps. More and more pressure being put up by Harvey Claridge. And as they went side by side over the line, heading up towards the first corner, he did make the move stick. They both go a bit wide, but then just loses the rear end. Does the number 16 rider of Harvey Claridge. Just tried to turn in maybe a bit too much grip wanted. So an unfortunate shame there for Harvey. And as they go through, just confirmation a bit moment, then the bike goes down. Tom Ward and Brad Ray also enjoying a good scrap, good friends. And as they make their way over the line, they continue to fight on for the end of the race. So confirmation, one rider stops, about to head back to the and then another pointing to the apex and sort of waving. Red flag then coming out, which then ended the race. That was confirmed as a result. So that was it, as we also had a Moto Team rider stopping on circuit right at the end of that for the race for the Pit Bike 140 Moto Teams. They are putting down some sawdust and chalk dust, so it's not... There are a few moments the marshals are taking out to just clean up all the oil and residue off the corner, and we'll go for a slight breather after some very fiery and intense action here. Thank you for joining us. This is round 4 of the 2019 Cool Fab Racing British Mini Bike Championships. It's Liam Hodgins and Dan Marr here on commentary. Thank you for joining us. It's great to have you here with us in the baking sunshine in Lincolnshire. Well, it's all very exciting. I need a breather, Liam.
Yeah, you and me both, mate. I think we all need a breather here. As you said, that the track is heating up out there, and of course we've got a lot of fantastic race action still to come. Of course, the junior LC40 Elites and the senior Mini Motos. So we will be right back, so don't go anywhere.
This is Cool Fab Racing. Live coverage all season on the Cool Fab Racing Facebook page and on the website coolfabracing.com. This is Cool Fab Racing. Live coverage all season on the Cool Fab Racing Facebook page and on the website coolfabracing.com. original and best British championships for mini bikes. This is Cool Fab Racing.
Round 4 of the 2019 Cool Fab Racing British Mini Bike Championships. We're at Tattershall in Lincolnshire, ahead of some fantastic racing. We've had some spicy action out there so far, Liam. It is Liam Hodgins and Dan Marr here in the commentary box, bringing you through all of the action. We're taking a temporary pause in our action due to some cement dust and some other sawdust being placed down to ensure some fluids have been picked up on the circuit. But if you could just talk us through quickly, Liam, what they're doing and why they're doing it.
I thought you were going to ask me to talk me through some of the broom skills that's going on out there. But
That's really
I just thought it was
interesting, Liam.
I thought it was quite funny. They're all
that.
standing around there as they watch one person just brush away as there was another 9. Yeah, so it looks like there was some liquid put down in the circuit there, so it has to be covered up before we continue with the racing action here today at Tattershall. Now, from the previous race in the Pit Bike 140s and Moto Team Race 1, there was an incident at turn number 9 where a rider stopped at the edge of the circuit and another rider went down on what was the said oil. They stopped the race and there's been cement dust put down at turn number 9 and through turn number 2 and of course at turn number 4 as well. So we're waiting for that to be cleared up. Fingers crossed that'll be cleared up in a very short while and we will get back to some racing action for the LC40 Elite class and the senior Mini Motos before the end of the day.
So 2 races to go here on the Saturday. You'll be delighted to know we've got not just 1 but 2 sets of races tomorrow. We'll very quickly, the provisional order starting tomorrow will be at around 10:30. The first Mini GP50 race of the day, the second of the weekend, followed by the Extreme200. Mini F1 sidecars are third on the bill this weekend, ahead of the AC40 Rookies, the Mini GP70s, the AC40 Pros, the Pit Bike 140 and Moto Teams, the Junior LC40 Elites, and then the Senior Mini Motos. That will round us out of the morning's action, taking us into the lunch break, and then around 2 o'clock we'll do it one last time ahead of the next round. So, as the riders are preparing to head out onto circuit, the Junior LC40 Elites are going to come out in just a few moments' time. There is one rider who's popped out, so I'm not sure why the rider has come out of the paddock talking to a marshal at the moment, trying to say, well, can I not go to the grid? Marshal probably saying, no, we're in the middle of something.
I actually think that's one of the senior Mini Moto riders. They're too tall to be an LC40 Elite.
We can get some quite tall children.
Yeah, but not quite that tall. He's been a very naughty boy, trying to get himself into another race.
So he's heading back to the paddock after being told, no, you can't come and play for now. And everyone else just getting ready to get underway with the next race, which is the Junior LC40 Elite at the moment. So as they're cleaning up the fluids on the circuit, we must state it's not just water. If it was water, it would dry up pretty quickly, but it would be something like oil or could be coolant on the ground, which basically, especially as they're bikes where you've got very little contact patch, if you were to slip, that could be quite dangerous. So the marshal's doing a good job. But let's have a reminder of some highlights as to what's happened over the course of the day this far. Extreme200s were one of our first races this morning and this afternoon, and as they got through the first turn, Liam, for the first time, well, it was all a bit chaotic.
Yes, it was very chaotic. As you can see, Brad Ray making some moves as he was in 3rd spot in the early laps of the race. And of course, we had some moves further down the field, going into turn number 1. A couple of riders making moves up the inside of their fellow compatriots there. Hard racing throughout the entire race. Of course, Brad Ray there on bike number 28. The BSB rider was making some one-off appearances this weekend in some of the categories and chasing down 2nd spot very hard throughout the entire race there. But as we look down further through the field, as we said, there was some hard racing all the way down as we had Max Cook and of course Charlie Nesbitt, some former riders of the categories, moving in towards for a one-off race this weekend. But it was of course Holmes Williams that picked up the race win in the Extreme 200s ahead of Brad Ray earlier on in the day, as we had some great racing through into turn number 1. That was once again a Max Cook.
Max Cook, great victory and great battle in that race. We have our riders back out onto the circuit now, though, as we get ready for the second last race of the day. The Junior LC40 Elites head up towards the start-finish line. In fact, we say the Junior LC40 Elite does actually look like the Senior Minimotos are going out now. So, Senior Minimotos are next on the bill, and we will get Senior Minimotos are out next. They are heading up to the circuit. They're on the grid now, and we'll get the green flag lap underway in just a few moments' time. A good entry this weekend. Good quality entry this weekend, and it's something we do like to have. Senior Minimotos do provide some fantastic action over the course of the race meetings.
Yes, they do provide some fantastic race action. Now, it was supposed to be the LC40 Elites going out now, but we actually have the Senior Mini Moto class, so not too sure what the change in the bill is, but of course we've got some great race action ahead of us. Now, there's an 11 rider strong field for the penultimate race of the day in the Lincolnshire Sunshine, as the riders make their way onto the start of their green flag lap. And in pole position, it is going to be Will Howarth, who was out in the previous race just there. He'll be starting from pole position ahead of Bernie Hook in second spot. Matt Birkin, our early championship leader, is in third position on the grid ahead of Josh Birkin on bike number 4. Andy Whedon is in fifth spot on bike 7 ahead of Simon Huntingford on bike 47 in sixth spot. Craig Ashall in 7th position on the grid, topping off row number 4 ahead of Nick Bennett on bike 711 in 8th place. Adam Ambrose will be in 9th spot on bike number 21, heading row number 5 on the grid ahead of Aston Dean on bike 137 with a very Valentino Rossi-esque helmet from the early 90s. And of course, rounding out the runners and riders for the Senior Mini Moto class as the riders make their way round to the start of the grid, as it looks like they're making a couple of warm-up laps. It's going to be Ross Michael on bike number 79. So there's a couple of warm-up laps that the riders will be taking, presumably to see how track conditions are.
Yes, and I think they might also be trying to mix the final bits of the sawdust and chalk dust just around to make sure it's not on the racing line, make sure no one slips on it, and as they should hopefully make the full grid at the end of this race, end of this lap. We've got one rider who's gone out without a front fairing, so basically running a piece of cardboard as a number board, which
that'd be absolutely awful for your aerodynamics.
Well, you think it is the case, but the fact it's just one slab of cardboard pointing upwards, I think probably would be as efficient. I think to talk about a car racing story for just a few moments, I think about like 30 or 40 years ago in the Touring Car Championships, TWR, Tom Walkinshaw Racing, had complained that Wyn Percy was running a angled number plate on his car.
Oh, right.
There's some kind of movable aerodynamic device. So the age-old argument. But will that be of assistance to that rider? We simply don't know. We will keep you up to date, of course. 11 riders are due to get out onto circuit, and they all look to be there. So we'll keep you updated. The 9-lap race in prospect then for the Senior Minimotos. And as everyone makes sure they are in the final positions ahead of the green flag. The green flag marshals are just walking up the grid now. So final checks being prepared and underway. All should be going well. Cloud cover starting to come in, so track temperature may drop a degree or two. Still a very healthy 21 degrees out there, so not bad weather, all things considered, but we are due to get the race underway. Green flag will be held up in the air in just a few moments. Bit of smoke from the number 96 Will Howarth bike. They do get underway though. A good start from Will Howarth. Heads into the lead for the first time. Second place, Matt Birkin and Josh Birkin duking it out at the moment. The two Birkins going well in the very early stages of this race. Through turns 2 and 3 for the first time as well. Everyone has got through cleanly. No problems as of yet. So Will Howarth did make a good start. Got a couple of machine lengths. That's now been tailored back just a little, so it's a fight, first, second and third, side by side for the race lead into turn number 7 for the first time. And well, Will Howarth, he has got the lead, but for how long can he retain it? Because it is by no means a certainty.
Yes, it looks like Bernie Hook is finding every which way, and he does. Up the inside into the final turn, pushes Will Howarth back, and Matt Birkin in third spot as they come across the line. Will Howarth make his way up the inside, not quite, but Matt Birkin round the outside, runs a little wide, and this is a great battle for the top 3 at the moment. Matt Birkin changes his line into turn number 2, and not quite making a move stick just yet. As we look further back, it looks like Josh Birkin up to 4th spot. He is. That is Josh Birkin up to 4th spot. It pushes Andy Weeding aside, and that is a change for positions 4th and 5th as they come into turn number 4. So Matt Birkin chases the back of Will Howarth, who chases the back of Bernie Hook in the opening stages of the Senior Mini Moto race number 1.
3-way fight for the race lead, although the race lead is actually starting to gap a little bit. Even if you can get a small gap, that's all you need really to give yourself a bit more breathing room. Heading over the line, and it is the leader. Still, Bernie Hook is fighting away with Will Howarth. Will Howarth is in second place, side by side once again as they make their way over the line now. And definitely going to be a good result for those so far. Riders still making their way through up towards turns 4 now. 4th and 5th getting very close at the moment as well. Heading up into the first of the hairpins, left, then right, then left again, and that's a piece of cardboard on the front of the second rider's fairing, definitely not being an aerodynamic helmet. In fact, it's pretty much wrapped around his handlebars by this point.
Yes, it is. That's 2 riders.
Josh Birkin down.
That's Josh Birkin down, falling out of 4th spot, back in the race. It looks like he's lost a few positions there, but losing the front, coming through turn at number 7 as he was getting pressured from the legs of Andy Whedon. So Josh Birkin back into the race. Can he make any progress? But thankfully he's back in the race as Matt Birkin looks like he's making a move all over the back of Will Howarth. Will Howarth be able to hold off Matt Birkin? Well, we'll continue to see if that's the case.
Well, it is Bernie Hook, the number 0, in first place, 1.1 seconds ahead of Will Howarth. Matt Birkin under pressure. They're fighting the pair of them, Andy Whedon and Nick Bennett. That's officially your top 5. And then you've got Adam Ambrose, Craig Ashall and Josh Birkin all nose to tail, side by side. Adam Ambrose, the number 21 orders contact as well. The rider goes down, he's back up onto his feet and is about to get back onto the bike. Wasn't sure which rider that was, but it all got a bit too close for comfort there. It isn't the easiest thing to do, fighting through the hairpins, and unfortunately to their detriment, they found out just how tricky this circuit is.
There's a lot of fantastic and hard battling going on all the way down the field in the Senior Mini Moto race. So that was Josh Birkin, who was trying to make his way back through the field, getting embroiled in a fantastic battle with many of the riders further down. So it looks like it could have been Craig Ashall that went down in that incident. But Matt Birkin still all over the back of Will Howarth. There's a 1.1 second gap between Bernie Hook, who just set the fastest lap of the race on the previous lap, a 50.444. So he's pulling away ever so slightly from the battle for second and third. There's just over 5 laps remaining of this race as they head towards the final turn. Can Matt Birkin get a good run through the final turn across the start finish line? They come now as a bit of a gap opened up, so he won't be able to make a move just yet, but he's very good out of this turn at number 1 hairpin as he chases the back of Howarth. But it looks like Howarth and Birkin have made inroads into the back of Bernie Hook. They have. They were a 10th faster on the previous lap, so Hook could be coming under pressure from second and third any moment now, as it looks like Howarth has found his feet once again and continues to close the gap.
Will Howarth, Matt Birkin, that battle for second and third. The tricky thing, as always with the Senior Mini Motos, is without wanting to sound harsh, is sheer size, because they are larger riders on these bikes as opposed to the kids when they're racing on these kind of bikes. They can't move the bikes about quite so much, but they also have quite a large aerodynamic effect. Once you get into the slipstream, as Matt Birkin is finding now through the final corner, ducks left, ducks right, tries to go up the inside into turn number 1. Can he make the move stick? Yes, he can. Up into second place, and he timed that really perfectly. New fastest lap on that last lap as well. So Matt Birkin, as I was just saying, gets into the slipstream, really makes the move work. Will Howarth was starting to close in a little bit though through turns 3 and 4, rolling off the brakes a little earlier, just letting the natural momentum carry you into the corner. It's not the easiest thing in the world to try and do, but Bernie Hook, the race leader, is starting to be closed down by Matt Birkin, your new man, in second place. There's only 3 laps to go in this as well, so not an awfully large amount of time in which to make progress.
Yes, you said Matt Birkin is closing down his championship rival Bernie Hook. He made a bit of an error into turn number 7, lost it from him, picked it up, but is still continuing on his way. He was a tenth slower on that lap because of that incident than Bernie Hook, so Hook has still got a 1.1 second advantage at the top of the field with only 3 laps to go. Matt Birkin is pushing very hard, ever so hard, to try and catch that gap back up, but it looks like Hook has got it under control at the moment. Howarth is still in third. Andy Whedon is a few seconds further back. I say a few seconds further back. He's 14 seconds further back than Howarth. Josh Birkin has moved his way back up to 5th. So after crashing out of 4th spot earlier on in the race, he's now back up to 5th spot and a few seconds further back than Andy Whedon in 4th. Nick Bennett in 6th ahead of Adam Ambrose in 7th. Simon Huntingford in 8th. Craig Ashall in 9th. Ross Michael in 10th. And Aston Dean rounding out the runners and riders.
We've had the unusual situation of the 2 leading riders, Bernie Hook and Matt Birkin, having both set identical fastest laps, 50.350. Bernie Hook only just set that, so it would actually go to Matt Birkin because Matt Birkin set the lap first. But 2 laps to go, and they're starting to encounter a few other riders in this race. That's going to close up the battles somewhat. In fact, Matt Birkin being reeled in by Will Howarth just by getting behind someone else, and this is when he can really use a good slingshot out of the infield section, really just patiently making sure you can get that momentum, get the position on track when you need it, because when it hits, that is when it's key. Bernie Hook, though, isn't worrying about that so much, as he's about to come over the line, in fact does come over the line to start the final lap of this race. Race 1 for the senior mini motos here at Cool Fab, round 4 of the 2019 championships.
Yes, so we started the final lap of the race. Will Howarth looks like he's having trouble with the acceleration of his bike coming out of the turn 9 hairpin, but it's all over the back of Birkin. Will he make a move as they come through the infield section of the track? We're looking at our race leader, Bernie Hook, at the moment. He looks like he's got this sewn up for the moment as he approaches a back marker, but it's not all over yet. Birkin going defensive into turn number 7. Can Howarth get up the inside? Will he get round the outside? He's great on the brakes, not quite yet, but is Birkin still holding the second spot ahead of Howarth? We've got Hook all on his own in the lead of the race. Coming through the final turn, it's going to be Hook increasing his championship lead. That is Hook taking the first race win of the weekend ahead of Birkin, and of course Will Howarth rounding out the podium positions. We've got to wait an age to wait for 4th position. Can Birkin, Josh Birkin I'm talking about, catch the back of Andy Whedon as they come through the final turn? Not quite, as Andy Whedon still holding 4th spot on bike number 7, the cardboard numbered bike number 7. Josh Birkin, great recovery from Birkin there after crashing out of 4th spot. Drop back down the field, he's back up into 5th. Nick Bennett comes across the line in 6th spot. Adam Ambrose, Craig Ashall, Simon Huntingford will be coming across the line any moment now. We've got Craig Ashall coming across the line after Adam Ambrose, who crashed out earlier on in the race, as we've got Craig Ashall coming through the final couple of corners across the line, completes the race after he went down as he was embroiled in a battle between Birkin and Andy Whedon, and rounding out the top 10 will be Ross Michael ahead of Aston Dean. So Dan, that was a very incredible race at the top of the senior mini motos.
It was an incredible race at the very top of the senior mini motos. Good start by Will Howarth, led over the line for the first time, then slowly but surely Bernie Hook and Matt Birkin close in, just making sure that they are closing in, having a great scrap as have for the rest of the race. A few other riders making a few mistakes, a couple of tumbles, no real damage done, but pride certainly hurt in that instance. Side by side further down the field, the number 7 of Adam Ambrose getting well and truly in with the action. Craig Ashall and Nick Bennett enjoying some close battles once again. So further and more contacts in that race. They go up, they go down, the bike barrel rolls around, but did manage to get it going in the end, no problem. But it wasn't a problem for Bernie Hook either. He was the winner of the race. Matt Birkin in second place, and Will Howarth rounds out the top 3. So that was the Senior Mini Motos. This is it for the rest of the day now. It is the Junior LC40 Elite. They are on their green flag lap. Half a lap to go. And as we now make our way through the rest of the stuff, it's up towards the grid, and we'll get the grid for that in just a few moments' time. Thank you for joining us. This is coverage of round 4 of the 2019 Cool FAB-Racing British Mini Bike Championships. It is the Junior LC40 Elites that head up onto the grid, and well, another 9-lap race in prospect. It's going to be quite the action-packed one, Liam.
It will be indeed, as always, from the LC40 Elite. So it's going to be our championship rivals starting off the top of the grid. Johnny Garness leads the championship on 213 points at the moment. That is 62 ahead of Mason Foster. I say they're championship rivals. Well, they've had some fantastic on-track battles so far this year. As we look back towards Red Lodge, there was great battles between both of them for all 3 races. So fingers crossed we can see more of the same without, hopefully, any incidents. Nice clean racing at the front of the grid. So it's the final race of the day here at Tattershall, round number 4 of the Cool Fab Championship, and of course we're going to have Mason Foster starting from pole position on bike number 88 for the Junior LC40 Elite category, ahead of championship leader, that is Johnny Garness. Emmanuel Brinton will be starting from second on the grid, from third on the grid, on second row on the grid, ahead of Samuel Munson on bike number 72. Ronnie Harris will be next up in 5th spot on third row of the grid, ahead of Josh Bannister on bike number 2 in 6th position. Clayton Edmonds on bike 146 will be in 7th spot, ahead of Ethan Sparks on 62. Cameron Sewell on bike 100 will be in 9th spot, and rounding it, the top 10 will be Charlie Huntingford on bike 76. The 6th row of the grid is led by Henry McCartney on bike number 31. Warwick Brady will be next up on bike number 99 in 12th spot. Greg Marshall in 13th ahead of Finn and Wedity. Ruben Bray in 15th spot ahead of Max Wedity.
16 qualifies for 9 laps of racing here at Tattershall. We have got the final. This is it, the final race of today. Of course, 2 more fantastic sets of races tomorrow, so all action here for round 4 of the 2019 Cool FAB-Racing British Mini Bike Championships. We are the official partner series to the Bennett's British Superbike Championship. We're on the road to MotoGP. These riders are destined for greatness in national, international levels of competition. Many of our riders, including BSB's Brad Ray, coming through the Cool FAB-Racing paddocks, in fact come back to race with us on occasion, but we're about to get underway. The final race of Saturday is underway now. A good start from the front row. Mason Foster versus Johnny Garness. How many times over the years have we said that? But it's Garness who makes an initial getaway, great getaway, and into the lead of this race ahead of Mason Foster. Samuel Munson and Emmanuel Brinton getting involved, heading through the first few corners for the first time. They're all a bit line astern. There's not too much scrapping going on this first lap through the infield for the first time, but patience will certainly pay, Liam.
Well, indeed, Dan, and of course Johnny Garness is always very patient because he's usually leading the race, and of course he's picked up many wins this season. Mason Foster, as you said, has been his championship contender for many years. There's always been great on-track battles between both of them. As they come across start-finish line now, will Mason Foster make a move into turn number 1 late on the brakes, but Johnny Garness is even later on the brakes, and we've got to continue with the order that we started off with Johnny Garness leading Mason Foster, but that battle on track is ready to embroil ever more as the race continues. In third is Samuel Munson. Emmanuel Brinton in 4th place ahead of Josh Bannister has made a great start. Josh Bannister is up to 5th spot from 6th in the grid ahead of Clayton Edmonds, Ronnie Harris, Cameron Sewell in 8th ahead of Charlie Huntingford 9th, who Warwick Brady runs out the top 10 ahead of Greg Marshall, Finn and Wedity, Ruben Bray, Ethan Sparks, Henry McCartney and Max Wedity.
Well, great starts. People are underway, and we are underway racing here with the Junior LC40 Elites. Garnes versus Foster. This is the one we always mention. It's always so close. They're side by side again into turn number 1. He can't quite make the move. Mason Foster looked to ride his right-hand side. Couldn't quite chicken out on the brakes. Johnny Garnes remained in the lead of this race. Samuel Munson third, ahead of Emmanuel Brinton and Josh Bannister. They are nose to tail at the moment. At the moment, it's more Samuel Munson versus Emmanuel Brinton. Emmanuel's final weekend racing in Cool Fab, we believe. We spoke to his father on Friday in the paddock during setup, and well, they said they're going to be moving to Spain as a family in a few months' time, and they're going to be taking a little bit of time to really decide what they're going to do. Continue, they might fly over and continue racing in Cool Fab, or they might race locally, and well, it is certainly a good audition for that, because it is Munson versus Brinton, third and fourth, but the battle for the race lead has changed. In fact, it's Mason Foster, new fastest lap and into the lead of the race, but they're side by side into turns 2 and 3. The green bike of Mason Foster is just ahead of Johnny Garnes, but Garnes lets the brakes off, dives through on the inside into turn number 3. Liam, that is absolutely masterful stuff.
It's just incredible stuff from Johnny Garnes, as we've become used to so far this season. As we've seen so many times, that Mason Foster looks incredibly fast on the fast corners and the straights. Johnny Garnes is always a demon on the brakes as they come through turn at number 9. It's Johnny Garnes from Mason Foster. Will Foster make another move into turn number 1? He's got a great run through turn 10. I'll cross the start finish line round the outside. Mason Foster fast on the brakes. Johnny Garnes late on the brakes though. Mason Foster runs away. Johnny Garnes back into the lead of the race. This race is shaping up to be an absolute classic between the two.
And apologies, we've got 6 laps left to go, and it's Garnes versus Foster once again. Foster still has the fastest lap. That's the thing. There's always something about one of them which has got the momentum behind them. The gap was half a second over the line, but we're going through the infield section at the moment with the pair, and they are as close as can be.
Yes, they really are, because we've got Mason Foster climbing all over the back of Garnes. Garnes still gets a run through the corner, but as we see lap and lap again, Mason Foster's like a bullet from the gun through turn 10. As we come through turn 10, it's going to be a cross-start finish line. Will Mason Foster making the brakes? Oh, late on the brakes. A little bit of movement under the bike, touches with Garnes into first. Johnny Garnes coming back round the outside. Has he made done? He has done. Johnny Garnes around the outside will not give up that lead. He's fighting tooth and nail, and every time Mason Foster jumps back into lead of the race, Johnny Garnes snatches it right back again.
And that's the real thing with the momentum between the two. They've always got something on each other. Johnny Garnes now with the fastest lap. It's even like when he went for the lead a few laps ago. Mason Foster had made it through. We do have a rider who's stopped on the infield. They are sat the tyres at the moment, so they seem to be alright. Problem with the bike perhaps for now, but Garnes versus Foster, they head up towards the line once again. In the tow is Mason Foster. He looks to ride his right hand side up the inside at turn number 1, makes the move stick, so Mason Foster is back ahead, but Johnny Garnes gets such a great run out of turn number 1. He's right back up again. Another rider stopped. That's down at turn number 9, I believe.
That's Samuel Munson out of the
Samuel
race.
Munson again with problems. Unfortunate for him. But as they go once again, it's still side by side between Garnes and Foster. Foster again back through. Garnes on rider's right hand side, ducks the rider's left hand side, throws it up the inside, takes the lead back once again through the hairpins, the left hairpins. They change the lead at every opportunity through the final corner. This is 3 laps to go. There's no relentement in this and it's side by side again. Mason Foster with a great run around the outside into turn number 1. Already got it settled by the corner. Will that be enough to do it, Liam?
Not quite, because we know Johnny Garnes is going to come back as he does every single lap through turn number 3 into turn number 4. The big movement from Johnny Garnes. He lets the brake off. It's run wide. The touch coming through turn 4. Mason Foster, Johnny Garnes are giving us a battle for the ages. This is incredible stuff from the two youngsters here through the tight infield section. Johnny Garnes is leading the way now through the tight infield. Johnny Garnes always pulls away. He seems to be better on acceleration, but Mason Foster always has the power down the straight. They're pushing a back marker out of the way. We're coming on to the penultimate lap, coming across the start finish lane again. Mason Foster with the run through turn 10, across the start finish line, late in the brakes, comes across Johnny Garnes, cuts him off, says see you later buddy, and we're into the lead of the race once again. Can Johnny Garnes make a move on the race leader? Once again, will be into turn number 4, late on the brakes, going up the inside. Yes he does. It's Johnny Garnes back ahead of Mason Foster. They nearly touch once again, Dan.
It's that way that going into turn 3 is the way that Garnes can just let the brakes off on the handlebars, throw the bike through at the apex, and carry so much more apex speed than Mason Foster in order to catch through. With a lap and a half to go into the back section of this lap, Johnny Garnes is ahead as they're about to start the final lap, but that is not a position you would willingly want to be. Mason Foster gets a great run out of the final corner, already into the lead by the braking zone, goes deep into turn 1, so with 1 lap to go, every corner is critical. Garnes in second. He looks up the inside at turn number 2. This is unfamiliar territory for the young rider. He's always on the attack. He does. He sends it through on the inside. A bump there from Mason Foster. Got caught out by a bump in the road. Loses some vital track position. But half a lap to go. Mason Foster still on the attack.
Yes, Johnny Garnes is that little terrier that will never go away. Mason Foster looks like he's lost the chance of the win of this race. Johnny Garnes coming through the penultimate turn. He's done absolutely everything to take this race win. Through the final turn, Johnny Garnes takes the race win here in the LC40 Elites ahead of Mason Foster. Not ahead of Mason Foster. Mason Foster has gone down, I believe, or pulled off the circuit. Mason Foster has disappeared on this final lap. No, he doesn't. He comes across the line eventually. 6 seconds further down, so he lost a bunch of time in the last couple of corners on that final lap there. Not quite sure what happened for Mason Foster. Emmanuel Brinton comes across the line only 3 seconds further back from Mason Foster. Clayton Edmonds in 4th, Josh Bannister in 5th spot, Ronnie Harris in 6th. We'll be waiting for Cameron Sewell, Charlie Huntingford, Ward Brady and the likes to come across the line any second now, as we've got a battle further down the field. This is a great battle to turn number 9. Will it be the number 76 of Charlie Huntingford? Yes, it will be. Charlie Huntingford holds on to continue to catch further up in the championship. But once again, Johnny Garnes take another race win of the season ahead of his main championship rival Mason Foster. They have given us another fantastic and heated battle. I think I need another lie down.
Yeah, I think we're certainly going to need a lie down after that one. Some fantastic racing to end the day here at Tattershall in Lincolnshire. The junior LC40 Elites never fail to disappoint in the action. But let's catch a few highlights of what happened in that race. Well, it certainly started well. Good start for Johnny Garnes ahead of Mason Foster. Emmanuel Brinton got a good start as well. Josh Bannister, though, great run from Josh as well to score 5th in the end. But it was about this magnificent battle between Garnes and Foster. You almost feel like you've got to replay the full race in order to get the highlights of it. The battle was so good all the way through the race. Mason Foster would get a good run out of the final corner, then overtaken on the brakes. Johnny Garnes would then overtake coming out of the final corner and the final few corners. Almost a few touches. In fact, there were a few touches. Samuel Munson in strife. Not for the first time today, unfortunately. Although we do look forward to having him back out and everyone out tomorrow. Side by side again. Into the infield. Dominant from Johnny Garnes, the way he could just handle the bike and use all the available grip, whereas many riders just would struggle to be able to do so. Still, though, Garnes and Foster fighting side by side, just releasing the brakes up to turn number 3, just having a little bit more speed at the apex, flying it through. Mason Foster had nothing to respond with. That was that really for that race. But Mason Foster and Johnny Garnes, they continued to fight, looking over each other's shoulders. But the decisive mood, it was Mason Foster who would come in second, and Johnny Garnes, your race winner here. Junior LC40 Elites, and some fantastic action in that. Johnny Garnes, well done for a great win. Thank you for joining us. This has been some great racing today here at Round 4. Liam, just give us a bit of your personal highlights.
Oh, there's so many highlights of today. There was the Mini GP 70s that gave us great race action all the way through. Obviously the senior Mini Motos, the pit bike class, and of course, running off the day the way we did with the LC40 Elites. Mason Foster and Johnny Garnes, once again, those two don't give an inch when they're together on track. They will basically fire up the inside and do whatever they can to win the race. So it's a championship battle that Garness is still leading the way, and of course pulling ahead ever more, but you never know with those two, it can go either way. Mason Foster can come back to Moto and take a double victory.
Well, that may well happen. We will wait and see to have more interesting and brilliant racing. Thank you for joining us. This has been live coverage of just the Saturday races here at Tattershall. We've got 2 sets of races to go tomorrow, so join us bright and early for the action. Don't forget you can join us on the archives, on our archives on motorsport.radio and on the Cool Fab Racing websites, where you can catch all of the racing as it was from many, many moons ago. Thank you for joining us. It's been some great racing from Liam Hodgins and Dan Marr. Until tomorrow, goodbye from me.
This is the Cool Fab Racing British Mini Bikes Championship.